I think it'll be wasteful to chug this. Like, you really want to taste this. I've been sipping it throughout the day, and it's really tasteful. $40 fucking bucks. Jesus, man. That looked a little sus. What do you mean? The sipping or what? You talking about my pinpointers? Or the bottle? The bottle? Or the sipping? Not a good idea to choke wine. I learned my lesson. Armadillo has been bad weather? Really? Savor? You gotta savor the flavor, man. Amanda Cruz says, what the hell? I didn't get you didn't get notifications, Amanda? The sipping? You think I'm addicted to Mr. D? You think I'm getting addicted to alcohol, man? About drinking like Tom Cruise in the last time. Armadillo? Cages are not cool if that's what it do at Aiden. Had Amanda Cruz get banned? No, she didn't get banned. You should definitely sip. Slowly, man. Slowly. Not even, what do you mean? That was a sip, man. That was a sip, man. I barely drank that much of it, man. In the last, what? 7 hours? Who discovered addiction? Me. You just gotta unsubscribe and resubscribe, Amanda. It's like someone took rubbing alcohol and drop a couple of fucking drops of wood sealer in it. Mixed with lighter fluid. Lows. You drove through Stinky Leon Valley today. Always do a quick salute to the former chief. A man says, you feel me as my friend. PayPal me says, at Madar, no, I'm not in the boot, but I pay attention to the states. The boot? The boot is Louisiana. Louisiana. Josiah says, guess I'll put some cannabis syrup in this. Damn, you got some cannabis syrup, bro? You got cannabis syrup? I'll smoke to that. Louisiana? Yeah, Louisiana. Welcome into S500. Mr. D says we getting dead. Just remember I polished off a hand up Jack all of myself in 6 hours. Not proud, very, very stupid. Ooh, Jack. You want some banana cream flavored moonshine? Are the flavored moonshine?
Do me a favor, hit that like button. It helps us get the message out there and grow this incredible community. Don't forget to also smash that subscribe button if you haven't already, and make sure to turn on notifications. You don't want to miss any of the action, trust me. Also, if you could share this channel with more people we can bring into the conversation, the better. Finally, if you want to stay up to date with all things Chuck Bronson, make sure to follow us on all our social media platforms. We've got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you name it. Links are down below in the description. Alright, that's all for now, folks. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and always remember, we are the watchmen of our communities. From Chuck Bronson, thank you, be safe, and good night.
You can continue recording, but we're still doing investigation.
That's why I'm back here, not over there.
I know, but we're still doing
I don't do favors, man. Sorry. Here we go. Look, here comes the tape. They're breaking out the tape. Yeah, that's funny shit. Buddy?
You're gonna have to take off, man.
You're gonna have to take off. Bye. Shoo fly, shoo.
Why?
I just told you.
No, you didn't told me.
I
told you to take off.
Why am I leaving?
Well, you're not walking.
I know. That tells you I ain't going nowhere.
Alright, no problem.
Go tell the cops. Wham, 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 wham.
You want to videotape? Okay.
I wouldn't have came here if I felt like there was some type of
You
threat.
don't know.
I wouldn't have did it.
That's the thing, Brian.
Yes,
You
I do.
don't have
You're not the
any
smartest
training.
person on the planet, and everybody
No,
else is
but you have
stupid.
no
That's what you want to
training,
act
Brian.
like.
You have
It's
none.
common sense, man. It doesn't
And
take
you
2
have
weeks of
none.
police training to be able to do your job.
Apparently, you have done it to put yourself behind this threat.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, a guy with a sawzall and no threat at all. There was never a threat
Which
here.
is what we
Absolutely
found
never
out.
a threat here.
What
The only
we
threat
found
is you
out.
here. That's it. There was absolutely no threat.
Okay.
And we're back.
29.
Maybe. I don't know if we are or not.
You can show us in the area. Area 29.
And we're back. We're back. We're back. And we're back. I just rolled up on this. I don't know. I thought the car hit this dude on the bike, but I think this guy just called the cops, though. I don't know if anybody's even in this car. I can't tell. Let me grab my flashlight. I think they bailed. There's some shit busted up back here. Probably hit the tree. Thought maybe they hit this guy on the bike, but because he was pulled over. There's like some busted up shit right here. I don't know. If it's back here and it flew that direction. Global security. I don't know. I don't see what the hell they would have smashed into. Unless this is, I mean, this looks the same color as the car. Unless it's old and just... There's a chunk out right there, but that looks old. I don't know. It's just odd. Nobody's in it. Parts here too. It almost seems like it would have hit something over there. I don't know if I don't know if that was there when we drove by earlier. Because we drove by. It's like that every time I end my live, I like instantly see something. It's like, Jesus.
Well, at least you got a guy that got a text message.
Yeah. That's why I sent it, just in case.
3-story multi-family building, nothing showing at this time. Busy investigating.
I know the guy on the bike called it in, but I don't know.
Multi-family, nothing showing, investigating. 102, 2359.
Got lights flashing.
Okay, people, I'll be back. This time for real, I think.
Test. Wow. Why is the volume so low?
Whoa! Corvette's fucking running from the cops, dude.
Yeah, mic is real low for some reason. Seems like it. Not sure why.
All right, Chuck Bronson is signing off. But before he does, he wants to express his deepest gratitude to each and every one of you who join him out here, standing up for justice and keeping an eye on those who are meant to serve and protect us. We've seen some heavy stuff today, but your constant support and vigilance make it all worthwhile. Remember, we're in this together, helping to keep our communities safe and accountable. If you've enjoyed this content and want to continue being part of this crucial movement, please do me a favor, hit that like button.
No, I did. I hate it when that happens. I brought it on myself. That whiskey got me too. Taught me a lesson with that one. All right. What's the timestamp, Mr. D? Goddamn, man. No Mercy Sheep says, ooh, secondary device, bok. What is you there, buddies? Welcome into No Mercy. From the beginning, let's get it. Oh.
It's throwing up.
In my mouth. I just threw it in my mouth. I don't know if you guys saw that. I just threw my...
The fuck?
You guys saw that? I just
Mr. Remote. Ooh, that sounds good, Mr. Remote. Hey, my grandparents sold the old hot dog stand in Ypsilanti, Michigan. They have the best. It's my grandpa's recipe of root beer, homemade root beer.
Right.
Over
sorry
ice
for the
cream.
scam, Mr. D. Thank you, baby. What happened? They try to poison you. I took that last hit, and if you rewind it, you'll see it. Like it went down the wrong pipe. You know how like you smoke, it goes down the wrong pipe, and then boom, it just like I started coughing.
Back in Chad.
And I'm throwing up twice in my mouth and had to spit it up. Did you guys see that?
What, dirty dog?
You guys saw that chunk, right? That was
Well
gross,
baked.
right? You like that dine home? Legit mouth juice. It was like mucus, Dr. Pepper, and whiskey, and it had that whiskey smell, and it was like all foamy.
Oof.
It was pretty gross.
Yeah, sounds like it. Fuck.
It was fucking gross. It had some of that pizza I had earlier on it too. Had some of that meat lovers on it.
He's got a little bit on his lips, so it looks like.
Nasty, man.
Yeah.
This is how Blaze started Balkan and Lizito. But you can see it. You can see it happen with that last hit I took. Is that what heartburn's like? Baby?
Yeah, it's drive-in. Only guys are guys that rent out the cars.
The part coming up is what I wanted to share.
What is it?
That's the major heartburn. Yeah,
the trays that hook to your windows and everything. Glass mugs.
It
for
distorted
root
me.
beer, or you could get it to go in a cup.
Like all my food is
frosted mugs.
It's or not all my food. All my mucus is
Or run through super cold water.
It was just little chunks. That was the liquor for you. Luckily, what? Do I have puke all over my face? What is it? What is it? Yeah.
You got it now. Yeah, a little bit as a
to
lip.
make sure you don't choke on your own pizza. Peak breath is dangerous. It's got whiskey on it too. On the phone. Oh yeah.
Come on. Come on, friend.
Which part? Which part?
No, we're not watching this.
Was it before that? Did I miss it? This is such a shitty media shit.
No, we're not watching Lucy. We're not George or Gregory. Oof. And my grandparents owned a hot dog place called Bill's Drive-In.
Oh, I had it on. Okay.
In Ypsilanti, Michigan. Bill's Drive-In in Ypsilanti, Michigan. They owned it. They sold it when they retired. Same people that own Gabriel's Hoagies in Ypsilanti, Michigan, which is also excellent. But chili dogs. And my grandpa's recipe root beer. Jesus Christ.
No, we're done talking. Out. Because you're not listening to what I'm telling you to do. So walk out. Do you want to go to jail? Or do you take?
I'm tired about the First Amendment. That's all we hear.
Can I help you?
Too afraid. Thank you, man.
Thanks for joining us, Friends and Code.
We're watching Porky's Lassie scene.
Unity are slaves in their minds, then they're going to expect the rest of us to be slaves. But if we all can liberate
media, I started
ourselves
watching it.
and liberate more people, and this can be
Somehow we're here. My
become
hair
a
is doing this thing
community-wide
where it's like,
and a county-wide and a statewide and a nationwide thing. We can literally push back the tides of tyranny if we're all on the same page. And it doesn't require that we all believe the same thing about everything, but it will mean that we can align on a couple of principles. Like, I've said this before, and I will continue saying it, but it does bear repeating. If we can all agree, can we all agree that it's never right to
Mortified Boy is
use
awesome.
force and violence on peaceful people?
Matt, are you getting
I
the
think
game?
we can all agree.
There's still
on that,
time.
because
There's still time.
None of us wants to be harmed or threatened to harm, be threatened to be harmed.
There's still time to get in
in
the
our
game,
daily
Matt.
lives. The second thing is, does anybody have a higher claim over your life and property than you? The answer is, if you're rational, intelligent, reasonable, and honest, the answer is no. Nobody has a higher claim over my life and property than me. It's my body. I can put in it whatever I want to put in it. I can trade with whoever I want to trade with, and no third party has the right to infringe on that. Nobody does. And that's self-evident. And the third thing is, can we all agree that the principle by which we should all be operating that governs those two right there is the golden rule? Do to others what you would want done to you. Conversely, don't do to others what you wouldn't want done to you. I think we can all, sane, rational, intelligent, sentient beings, can agree on those things. And if we can, then guess what? We have a basis, a serious basis for unity. And then if we all get sensitized to those things.
It's a tiny place called Gabriel's Hoagies. I'm telling you. West of Philadelphia. These are the best cheesesteak hoagies you're going to have.
That's all we need to push back the Federal Reserve. That's all we need to push back the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, the NDRP, the National Defense Resources Preparedness Act, that says the military can come in and grab all the power, all the water, all the food supply, all the streets, and declare martial law. We can push all that stuff back because of those fundamental principles that we can all agree on. And that's not fiction. That's reality. If you're honest with yourself, you don't want to be asleep at 4 o'clock in the morning and have armed agents of the state breaking your door because you didn't pay your taxes. We can all agree on that. We can all agree that taxation is theft. Every single one of us knows that if you take property from somebody else without asking or getting their permission, you've stolen their property. Well, that's what taxation is. And more than that, taxation is extortion. You're doing it at the barrel of a government gun. We can all, if we can all agree on that stuff, I'm telling you, there's the light at the end of the tunnel right there. Because being sensitized to those principles, those truths, those moral pegs can say, oh, guess who violated that? That politician who wrote that law, that assault weapons ban, which literally means he has given himself permission and law enforcers the permission to steal my property because I happen to own a tool that somebody else used to shoot up a school. If we all believe those basic core principles, we can literally change the world, period. Because anybody who doesn't agree with those principles is a violator of those principles and therefore a violator of your life and your rights, period. If anybody disagrees with that, let me know, because I think that's basic. I think it's simple. I think it's easy to express that even to like an 8-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old child. Somebody can, it's like, do you want somebody hurting
Got
me?
the funk.
I don't want anybody hurting me.
Who
Then
got the
hurt
funk?
other people. If you don't want that
Hell
done
you
to you,
talking
don't
about?
do it to other people. Do you want somebody stealing
Funk,
your
the
toy?
funk.
No, I don't
I
want
mean,
this.
the funk
Don't
is
steal somebody else's toy.
some Michigan
And you don't get a
cherry
pass
peppers.
because you call yourself an agent of,
No,
well,
they're not
we're
even
from the
from
IRS.
Michigan.
We
They're
can do
New
that.
Jersey or
Well, we're
something.
police
Got these-
officers. We can
these are the
harass and
cherry
collect from
peppers
you.
that they
Well,
have
no,
are-
you can't,
Oof.
because that violates our
Good.
core principles, the core principles of my neighborhood, of my house, my neighborhood, my community, my county, my state. That violates
Used
the
to be able to
principles.
buy jars of it
You
there,
become a
but they're not
violator, and
letting you
therefore
do it
you're a
anymore.
criminal. We can
I used to put
all
that shit on eggs.
agree
Oof.
on that. Every one of us. I guarantee 100%, unless you're insane or you're a liar.
Damn, insane liar. Look at this. Kyle's out.
Too much for me, you know. Like I like having the chunks in my teeth and stuff, right? But I think next time I'm gonna just take the easy way out and take it straight to the stomach, man.
Oof.
And see what kind
Swallow
of
that shit, man. Swallow it.
Just digging
Don't
all
blow.
those chunks out of my teeth, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Come on, man. You had to march. You're a fucking guidon bearer.
Capsule, the capsules for show.
That was a good one. Give him a like that now. I like watching his
I
stuff.
should stop drinking.
Damn, he's still sipping on that. What's this?
That's potent
You guys
stuff,
go.
man. Chocolate bar mushroom.
All right, we should be live.
You have a dog
Thanks
that
for being
eats
here,
its
guys.
puke?
I've been encouraged to
Most
do more
dogs
frequent
eat
live
everything.
streams. I'm going to kind of keep this one out here short,
And it says
but I
no,
wanted
if
to
Val
just
drinks, I have
present
to
something
drink,
that's
and I
been
gotta
on my
work tomorrow
mind.
with my wife.
If you were to ask the general population, I don't care if it's America or anywhere, but since we live in America, most of us here live in America. And, excuse the people who are in the. I apologize to anybody who's in the chat room who's not in America, but you have the same things going on in your neck of the woods with law enforcement and government and politicians and all that.
Yeah,
But if
Miles
you were to
pretty
ask the
fucked.
general public, no matter where you live, who
Oh,
the
no
worst
shit, Brandon.
people in the world are, like the people who have
I think he might have been up for
inhabit
it,
the
maybe
worst professions.
slightly.
What is the worst professional? How
That
cruddy
would have
do
been
you,
funny
do
as
you
shit.
have to be to do blank? How bad of a person, how immoral do you have to be to have the position of blank? Plumber, doctor, lawyer, checkout clerk, politician, law enforcement officer. What do you think? What position do you think tops that list? I'm going to give you what I think tops that list. And I think it's on a lot of people's minds. I think pretty much everybody knows that you have to be an absolutely crummy person to be a politician. I don't think any parent, well, I don't really want to, I don't want to speak for a lot of people, but as a parent, I would not want my kids to grow up to be a politician. I would not want them to grow up to be a lawyer. A synonym for lawyer is liar. A synonym for a politician also is liar. They're liars, they're cheaters, they're thieves. They write laws that are
No,
virtually all of them are immoral. So
I understand
think
why.
about and let's just go ahead and take
nasty.
a poll. I mean, who put a 1 in the room if you
ever
think one of
spilled
the
it and
worst
smelt it.
professions in the
Yeah,
world
it's
is
nasty.
politician. You know, we could say
Bacteria
lawyer or
plus-
whatever, police officer. Tell me what you think the worst profession is. I can't think of anything worse than a politician, because politicians use their pens
Sylvania Township
to write what they call laws, which are just the opinions
Where?
of these politicians. And
Where's this at?
when they put these laws into effect, they basically say, if you don't obey my law, you will be punished. Well, who's going to do the punishing? It's not going to be the politician who wrote that law down. It's not going to be anybody in the in his
There's
family.
a Sylvania Township close to
Who's
here.
going to
What's up,
enforce the
Anna?
laws
Get in the
that
game. No
politicians
one's out
write
yet.
down? And if it's true that politicians are the worst among us, who's going to enforce the politicians and the
Yeah, I had
scribbles
it.
and the
I was
writings
playing it
and the
all day today.
opinions of the worst among us? And wouldn't that make them even worse than the politicians? Because I hear so many times, and that's why I entitled this, I Support the Police. People say this kind of thing and they don't think about what they're saying, I don't think. They really are under the delusion, and it truly is a delusion, that cops are heroes, that they are our protectors. They're the knights in shining armor. They're the saviors. They're the ones who are going to arrive on the scene, and they're going to put their lives on the line for us, even though we have Supreme Court case after Supreme Court case saying, no, that's not true. The police are under no obligation to protect you. Shaney versus Winnebago County.
Yes,
Gonzalez versus
animating.
Castle Rock. And I know I've talked about this a lot on this channel about Gonzalez versus Castle Rock, but the context is very important. The context was Mrs. Gonzalez put a restraining order against crazy Mr. Gonzalez. The restraining order was in place. The piece of paper was in place for the law enforcers to enforce. And yet it did not keep Mrs. Gonzalez, 3 children, from falling prey to her husband, who unalived the kids, drove to the police station, got in a shootout with the cops, and then he became unalived. And then they discovered that in his vehicle, sitting in the police parking lot, were his 3 kids that weren't with us anymore. And in that context, Gonzalez versus Castle Rock, Colorado, the police are under no obligation, even with a court-ordered restraining order, to protect you. So you can't say that they are protectors. They're not there for that. And we've seen time and time again in video after video where they constantly say, hey, our number one goal is to make it home safe.
Yeah, but they don't want to allow you to protect yourself at the same time.
At the end of our shift, and it doesn't matter what we have to do to accomplish that task. It's higher than your life. It's higher than the Constitution. It's higher than your rights. It's higher than anything. The thing that tops their list, the law enforcement officer's list, is making it home alive at the end of the night. And he'll do whatever he has to do to make sure he accomplishes that. So if we're willing to say that at least one of the most dastardly positions and professions that you could have is politician, because they're liars, they're thieves, they're cheats. They follow what lobbyists have to say instead of what the Constitution says. They don't care about our rights. They care more about taking away our rights. Most of the laws that they write, by the way, infringe on our rights in some way, shape, or form. They use their executive power, their legislative power, to create laws that take more money out of your pocket. So they can use the pen to steal. They can use the pen to ruin your life. They can use the pen to issue an order to an armed agent of the state who's going to come over and knock your door down in violation of your Fourth Amendment rights, steal your guns in violation of...
Oh, yeah. Anybody who hasn't heard or listened to that, please listen to it. I paid for it just to give credit to Patrick, who narrates it. Disenthrall. Yeah, what she's posting is a good link. And if you have a Prime account, you probably have Audible, and you get free credits and using that credit to order that works just as well. Sorry, I'm joking.
The Second Amendment right, tell you to shut up in violation of your First Amendment right. Those politicians use those pens to do those things. They even use pens. They don't even have to get out of their chairs, and they can sign the death warrants of people in foreign countries. And all they got to do, they don't even have to be in the general vicinity. They just have to launch a drone, and then put a target on something, and then launch a missile, and then boom, done. 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people at a wedding, summarily ended. Their time on this earth ended because a politician scribbled something on a piece of paper, and the enforcement class, whether it's the military or the police, brought those words into being. And that's what pisses me off about people who, we call them bootlickers. That's what pisses me off about that, because they don't realize that as they're licking those boots, the people who are standing in those boots are ruining lives.
Versions.
They're destroying property. They're committing civil asset forfeiture, which is just a fancy word for theft. They're stealing your property that doesn't belong to you, because you might be involved in the illicit drug trade. So I would contend that the worst profession that even tops lawyer, that even tops politician, is law enforcer. Because when a law enforcer writes words down on a page, it's just words. Until that law enforcer gets a hold of it and goes, oh, I didn't write the laws. I just bring them into being. I put feet on those laws. I put my hands around necks. I get out my handcuffs and tighten them down on wrists. I throw people in the back.
He's pushing it to the edge
I
lately.
kidnap them. I put them into a rape cage.
For YouTube, anyway.
I'm the one that books them.
I'm surprised.
So I don't care what politicians write down. It could be the worst thing in the world against you. If there's no law enforcement class to execute that warrant or that law, you're fine.
On other platforms.
Ain't nothing going to happen to you. It's just when somebody steps forward and go, oh, you'll give me $49,000 a year to do that? Of course. I need to feed my family. Like this one St. Louis cop told me one time, I said, dude, why do you do what you do? Do you not know that you're out here ruining lives? You're trampling rights.
Why he's not on any other platforms?
Livelihoods. Gots to feed the children, he said. I gots to feed the children. So he actually admitted, no, I'll ruin lives. I'll obey the edicts of politicians. I'll commit gross immoralities against my fellow man as long as I can get a paycheck. And as long as something is attached to a paycheck, people who are immoral, people who don't have character, people who are willing to use their power against others, they will get that paycheck no matter what. They don't have a conscience. We want all cops on the Brady list. Let's remove their ability to be heard in court. Says 4chan for Prez. So do you guys see what I'm saying? Most laws are cruel and immoral. And what is a policeman? He's no longer a peace officer. He's not there to create peace. He's there to generate revenue for the state. He's a law enforcement official. And the word force is in enforcement.
I'll play that.
So they're going to violate your will because some political parasite told them to. And then they're going to sit there and go, I didn't write the laws. I know I disagree with it just as much as you do, but I'm going to go ahead and put you in cuffs anyway. I'm just doing my job, said the SS soldiers in the 1930s and 40s Germany. I'm just doing my job. I'm just following orders. I don't write the laws. I just obey them. I turn off my mind. I become the conformist that I shouldn't be, that's super bad for humanity, the conduit through which most evil comes into the world. And I put my moral cloak aside so that I could put my uniform on and so that I can run roughshod over my fellow human beings because the politicians told me to do it. That kind of excuse, I don't know what lies swirled around, with the Allied forces. I know there was tons of lies that was told against, the Germans back then. And I'm sure there's a bunch of lies that swirled around the Nuremberg trials. But for sake of just making a point. From what I understand with the Nuremberg trials is I was just doing my job was not a defense because you're still a free moral agent. You could have chosen not to do it. But if I chose not to do it and everybody else around me chose to do it, I would have been in trouble and I would have been the one that went to the gas chamber. Well, guess what then? So be it. Wouldn't you rather go down knowing you did the right thing instead of I was such a jellyfish? I was so spineless. I just did what they told me to do. And the things that I was doing was disgusting. That's why soldiers come back. Guys, I'm telling you, there are people who signed on the dotted line as an 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid who got sold a bill of goods at the what is that? The recruitment office, whether it's Army, Navy, Air Force, or Marines. And the bill of goods was, don't you want to fight for your country?
We're going to see a communist in November. We're going to go listen to Stevie Nicks sing at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit.
For the military, or like, GI Bill money or whatever. Yeah, I want to go to college, but yeah, I want to be a good person. I want to do the right thing. I want to be on the team that's fighting for people's freedoms. Why do you think so many of those come back? And according to the latest statistics I've heard, 22 of those soldiers who return from the battlefield per day, 22 per day, like 611, 625 a month.
I'm wondering why he's got this
commit suicide.
Savannah Township. I don't know if it's the one that's near me or not.
That they've
It's freaking me
acquired
out.
because they put off morality and donned the cloak of immorality and did what they were told to do. They just followed orders. And now they're coming back. And I'm talking about there's severe PTSDs,
God,
even in soldiers who
halfway
didn't
over.
kill anybody. They're coming back with the ones who did are coming back with these images of these villagers that they just offed because their commanding officer told them to off them, or these drone pilots that are just going down there dropping bombs. And then all of a sudden they realize,
we'll see you when
wow,
you get
my
back.
kill count, I literally could have been killing hundreds upon hundreds, if not thousands, tens of thousands.
There's still room for you.
Of innocent people. And then they can't deal with that. Because there's still this little flicker of, something wholesome.
It's going to count you down on the
that
table.
Resist
but
with all
no
its
worries.
might what this person did, and they did do it. Nobody
Still
made you
early.
push that trigger or pull that trigger as a drone operator. Nobody made you get inside that armored vehicle and then pop the hatch and take your 50 cal and just blow away all those people on the side of the street because your commanding officer told you these are insurgents. These are a danger. Well, guess what? If somebody invaded our American soil, like say the Chinese or Russian army, we would be the insurgents too. Why? Because we'd be out there planting the landmines, trying to stop the next Chinese troop that's trying to come to your subdivision to take more of your family members away. We're trying to repel the invader. Well, how can you expect people in foreign lands not to repel us? We're the invader of their land. We would be seen as China or Russia or the Nazis. So I contend that the worst profession, the most disgusting profession, the most immoral, the most horrific, the one that yields the most horrific results on this land is the law enforcement profession. If you really think about it, if you just get into a quiet place and you think about what they do, even just on an average traffic stop, scaring people to death when they turn on the cherries and berries. I don't care how seasoned you are, you see them in your rearview mirror, your heart rate is elevated. There's some beads of sweat coming. It's like, wow, this may be the end of me. If you're really thinking right, it's like, you know what? My life and my family's life are on the line right here, even if I comply with every single command with a smile on my face. And the first person that pops into my mind trying his darndest to obey rapid fire commands from Philip Brailsford and his henchman in Mesa, Arizona is Daniel Shaver. Trying to do the right thing, slightly inebriated, did nothing wrong. Now he's got this band of army agents, basically, heavily armed men in the hallway of that La Quinta Inn. He's shaking in his shoes. They're saying, if you do that again, we're going to shoot you. If you do that again, we're pulling the trigger. It's like, how are you going to respond to that? It's like, I can basically do nothing right. Put those hands back up. No, come over here. How am I supposed to come over there with my hands up and my legs crossed behind me? How am I supposed to do that, Ossifer? There is no way that politicians could have their way with us. I don't care what they wrote down on pieces of paper if there wasn't a law enforcement class carrying it out. And I hope this video right here makes it to you people who are sheriffs and deputies and police officers and lieutenants and sergeants, and even you people in the military. It's like, what are you guys thinking? Are you seriously going to abdicate your personal responsibility, put it on the shelf, and just do what these politicians tell you to do? Pull them over. They were doing 63 and a 60. Got to write them a ticket. Got to generate revenue for the state. Policing for profit. It's like, isn't it bad enough? It would be bad enough if you just sat under a shade tree all day with a radar gun and never wrote a ticket. It would be bad enough because you're exacting usury from the people for sitting there to justify your very existence. The only reason you're getting a paycheck is because the state, armed with guns, is pointed at the direction of community members, and they're making you pay, and that's how you get your salary, through taxation. That would be bad enough. But to add insult to injury, they put boots on the ground, they fulfill the edicts of politicians, they pull you over, and then they give you a $230 ticket, and you still got to pay taxes and pay their salary. It's messed up. So if you think that one of the worst professions in the world is politicians, then you can't think that law enforcement is any better. As a matter of fact, the law enforcement position has to take the pole position to that, because they're worse. They're worse than the politicians. And politicians are like, they're not even the bottom of the barrel. They're on the outside of the barrel, 12 feet under the ground. That's how low they are. They're beyond the cesspools and the dregs of society. And that's exactly where law enforcement is. And that's exactly what we need to be thinking about them. And I've got a video coming up. I don't know if I'm going to launch it tonight or tomorrow, but this is from the reason I have Sylvania Township Police Department is because these two idiots right here, this guy right here, he's a sergeant. He's got 3 stripes on his sleeves. This is a sergeant. Sergeant, what's his name? God, there's so many of them that are bad. Sergeant John Taylor right here. This is Sergeant John Taylor. This is Officer Michael Wyatt. And this right here is Caitlin Taylor, who's suing the Sylvania Township Police Department for $30 million for what they did to her. And oh, by the way, she weighs less than 100 pounds and she's pregnant. What did she do? What was her crime? I'm not going to tell you. It was nothing, though. It was nothing. It was extremely minimal. She didn't commit a crime. So when I think of who are the worst people in society, and then I consider that people who breathe the air that we breathe actually consider some of the best people in society to be cops. I just sit there and scratch my head and I go, do they not have access to the internet? Have they never seen a YouTube video? Have they never seen Daniel Shaver crying out for help and begging for mercy, and they shoot him anyway? Have they never seen that Amber Geiger claims to have gone to the wrong apartment when Botham John is sitting on his couch watching a movie, eating ice cream, and she blows him away because she said she thought Botham John was in her apartment? Where have these people been? Or Philando Castile or James Boyd or Johnny Wheatcroft getting tased in the groin. How many times in front of his screaming kids? They don't care. You would think it's like, you know how somebody arouses you from just a sound sleep? It's like, whoa, that was startling. You would think that if something was going to snap them out of their authoritarian march toward death, it would be the cries of a child as they're tasing a father who literally did nothing wrong. And then they throw him into jail and he stays there for 60 days until the video comes out from the La Quinta Inn showing that these Glendale cops literally couldn't have seen him. And it was all just because of a traffic infraction. You didn't turn your blinkers on. There's no way the cops could have seen that, according to the La Quinta Inn. That was another La Quinta Inn, or was it Motel 6? I don't know. It all runs together. But according to the motel security cameras, there's no way the Glendale police could have seen that he didn't turn his blinker on. And even if he didn't, so what? You're gonna use your power to overpower another man in front of his family? Who are you? What kind of person? You cannot be human. You can't be human. You've lost your humanity. You've been demoralized. Something happened to you along the way, and you're just I don't know, an alien among us. That's how I look at them. Brandon, thanks for being a member, channel member. Thanks, Marcy. And 4chan for Press says, yes, cops are domestic terrorists, and the police union is now a criminal empire. Truly clown world. What's up, John Eagle? Girl with the cameras here. Jeff hates pigs. So I want to make this short. How long have we been on here? Oh yeah, 21 minutes. That's pretty long. I don't want to bore anybody, and I don't want to belabor this, but maybe I should keep on kicking this dead horse until it's gelatinized, because people do not understand. Another thing that I hear, my uncle was a police officer for 23 years and he never did anything bad. How do you come on, give me a break. Give me a break.
23 years he did some
If you wear the uniform, you're doing bad things to good people, good innocent people. You're not out there solving crimes. You're not out there stopping murders. You're not out there putting an end to fentanyl overdoses or rapes or anything like that. You're just out there as a revenue generator, especially if you're a state trooper. That's all they do. That's all they do. They should change the name on this. It's not trooper, it's road pirate. They should just put road pirate, because that's what they are. That's all they do. That's what they're there for. They're there to harass truckers who are out there trying to make a living for their family. It's not, the life on the road is not easy. We got way stations. We got DOT stickers that need to be updated. You were going too fast. You didn't turn your turn signal on. Every excuse under the sun to violate somebody's rights and ruin their livelihoods. And it's truly disgusting. And the more I think about it, the more disgusted I become. And this picture right here of these two cops wailing on this innocent pregnant woman, it really takes I had to do this live stream, because some things, sometimes you dwell on it too much. It's like, you've got to let out some pressure, So if it's true that one of the worst occupations that could possibly be, in existence in our human experience is politician, then you got to put police officer on top of that, because as bad as politicians are, they only write their evil on paper. It doesn't work itself out into action until it lands in the hands of a police officer who goes, well, I guess this is what I signed up for. If the politicians tell me to do it, I got to do it, because it's just part of the job. It's disgusting. Disgusting. They're highway robbers, says Phil. They used to hang people for that. Yeah, that's another thing too, is people are like, well, it's just the law, Brian. It's just the law. If you want to change the law, then you got to get involved in politics. Oh, really? Really? It used to be legal to have slavery. And worse than that, what's worse than slavery being legal is freeing slaves was illegal and punishable by death. If you were a part of Harriet Tubman's Underground Railroad and you were caught as a white or black man, it doesn't matter. Freeing slaves, you were put to death. So not only was it legal to have slaves, and not only was the slave trade legally protected, but it was illegal to free another human being. That's government. That's government right there. So can you imagine being one of those officers in the 1850s who was actually enacting the politics of the day and saying, hey, if we catch you you freed 10 slaves, well, off with your head. Sorry, I didn't make the rules. I just followed them. Yeah. Do you disagree with them? Doesn't matter if I disagree with them. I'm getting a paycheck. Is anybody home? Did you hear what you just said? Is this really what we've become? Is this really where we want to go with society? Civil asset forfeiture. You can't record in this precinct. If we catch you, man, we're going to put the cuffs on you and throw you into a cage for getting out a camera in a New York City precinct. Give me a break. Where are the good cops? Why doesn't any good cop, because there's always like 8, 10, 12 cops on the scene and all of them are on the same page. all of them are, marching by the beat of the same drummer. They're all gathering around to, get that dastardly cameraman and teach him what for. We're going to teach you a lesson, boy. You thought you could record in the 75th precinct of the NYPD? Well, no, you can't. Where's the good cop that comes around and goes, guys, chill out? It is literally a First Amendment protected activity. Why would you want to live? Why would you want to work in a precinct that makes this public lobby a constitution-free zone after you took an oath to uphold, protect, and defend the Constitution? You bunch of hypocrites. And that's another thing, voting. That's another thing. It's not just about the politicians. It's not just about the police officers. It's not just about the lawyers and all the legalese that surrounds all this stuff that's crafted to take away our rights, give more power to the state. It's about all the people going out there saying, I want this politician to rob and rule that person because I'm too cowardly or hypocritical to do it myself. If you want somebody to do something that you wouldn't do yourself, then you probably shouldn't vote for it. And there's no politician, there's no candidate you could vote for that you're 100% on board with. So even if there was 1% of what you weren't on board with and you wouldn't do it and you think it's immoral, then you shouldn't vote for him. Why? Because it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. So really all this stuff falls back on the people. They're like, well, we want that politician because he's a Republican. We want that politician because he's a Democrat. And they're going to craft laws that we're all going to have to follow. And if we don't follow them, we'll be punished.
All laws beyond the Constitution are repugnant to me in the Bill of Rights.
We'll be punished by who? Oh, we'll be punished by all these people over here.
But I do not recognize any authority anymore. I'll ignore them.
Who are badged law enforcement agents. And then the evil just continues to perpetuate itself. It's just, we literally live on the set of the Twilight Zone.
100% fallen. 100%. They made everybody a slave.
So anyhow, that's we'll keep it under 30 minutes here. I really appreciate you guys. Yeah, you need a license to go fishing. You need a license to forage off the land, says Steve. What's up, mandatory myocarditis? What's up, Axiom? Anyway, I wanted to get that off my chest. I really appreciate you guys. If you stay tuned, I might, let's see, it's 6:13 Central Standard Time right now. I might,
Mine is
if
sleeping.
you guys want me to upload this video right here tonight, put a
Have you seen my pug puppy?
one in the room. If there's 324, there's 181 likes. Don't forget to hit the like button. Take a second right now to hit the like button. I forget to. I've got to discipline myself to where when I come in, I just hit that like button. It really does help with the algorithms. Make sure when this video gets done, when it goes, rendered, that you leave a comment because that really helps overcome the algorithm too. Put a 1 in the room if you want me to upload this video right here. I've got a follow-up video too to it, but I'm not going to upload that one until tomorrow. But if I get 70 likes, if I get 70 ones in the room, then I will upload this thing tonight. But also includes international airports now 100 miles. That's another thing. TSA. Talk about removing the Fourth Amendment. TSA, the blue shirts at the TSA. How much do they cost every year? It was last I looked, and I think it's 2018 was $9 billion a year. Part of the Department of Homeland Security, which is $60 billion a year. What's up, Tube? Bootlickers aren't smart. The cognitive, yeah, that's there's the word for the day. Cognitive dissonance. It's holding two mutually exclusive ideas, or attempting to hold two mutually exclusive ideas, diametrically opposed.
The Matt quota.
Opposed ideas, even at the same time, and then lying about it. It's like, no, I love freedom. I back the blue. Cognitive dissonance. It couldn't be more clear than this meme that I saw. There was a guy, was he flying? No, he had stickers in the back of his car. One of the stickers was "Don't tread on me," and I back the blue. Boom. Cognitive dissonance right there. You can't have "Don't tread on me," atmosphere of freedom, and backing the blue at the same time. But they're trying to hold on to it. They're kidding themselves. They're lying to themselves. You can't have both. You can't have back the blue and don't tread on me. Because backing the blue is go ahead and tread on me.
Yeah, the Kings.
Don't tread on me is I can't back the blue. Cannot do it. That's a perfect example of cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
TSA, terrorist sanctioned by Americans. Okay,
put one. 2-point pug. Hey, light up your life. Welcome.
Americas. Thanks for the likes, guys. All right, so yeah, hit the like button, share this video if you believe it's worthy to be shared. I really appreciate you guys. Was there 70? What do you think, mods? Do you think there's 70 ones in the room? I'm not sure if there's 70. There's 20. No, we didn't. I don't think we met it. Yeah, if more ones come in, I'll consider it. And then if I do upload it, it will be at 7 p.m. Central Time, which is what Eastern? That's 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific.
You didn't upload anything.
Okay, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it. I will see you guys in the next live stream. I intend to at least do. It's my intention. Good intentions will always be pleaded for every assumption of authority. But my intention is to do a live stream at least once a week. And I might make it on Mondays. All right, there's more ones that rolled in. Okay, you guys talk me into it. I will do it. I will upload this video dealing with the Sylvania Township Police Department and what they did to this poor woman right here and her $30 million lawsuit and why they felt like it was justified doing what they did. And then I'll have a follow-up video on this tomorrow. So I will upload this at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for being a member. If you haven't become a channel member, and if you want to support the channel, become a member or grab one of those shirts from the shirt store. I really appreciate it. It helps out a lot. And I'll see you guys in the next live stream. Take care.
It's straight. Yep. Do the basement again. All right. I got some good stuff here from Anna.
Mr. Jones owned a cotton plantation and many slaves. One day he was talking to the owner of the plantation next to his, and Mr. Jones was lamenting the fact that times were tough. He was having to work his slaves harder than ever and was having trouble with some of them being disobedient or trying to run away. The other plantation owner said he knew someone who could help.
Day one.
One day, Mr. Jones called his slaves together so a man named Mr. Smith could talk to them. Before beginning, Mr. Smith whispered to Mr. Jones, "Whatever I say, do not contradict me or interfere, and I promise you your slave troubles will end." "My name is Mr. Smith," he said to the slaves, "and this may be the happiest day of your lives. From today forward, you will no longer be slaves, but free men." Mr. Jones was so shocked he started to step forward, but Mr. Smith gestured for him to remain silent. He did, only because the other plantation owner had spoken so highly of Mr. Smith's skills. "You are no longer the property of Mr. Jones," Mr. Smith continued. "You are free. No more would you be forced to labor for the benefit of Mr. Jones. Now you can work for yourselves." Now the slaves were all murmuring and looking at each other. Many were smiling, many were looking puzzled. "In fact, you are now free to leave the plantation whenever you want," Mr. Smith said. "However, since we are surrounded by other plantations, if you leave, some other plantation owner will likely claim you as his own the moment you set foot on his property. So I urge you not to risk your newfound freedom by doing something so foolish. Instead, I suggest that you stay here, no longer as slaves, but as willing participants and part owners of this plantation. Yes, this is now your plantation." Mr. Jones bit his tongue to keep from objecting. "For now, we might as well leave Mr. Jones in charge," said Mr. Smith, "since he is the only one with any experience at running a plantation, which is quite a complicated thing to manage. But he will no longer be your master, but just another worker on the plantation. In fact, he will now be using his organizational and management skills to serve you. Whatever problems you may have had with him before, you are now all equals, and you need each other to make this work. If we all cooperate and work together, we can all reap the benefits together. In honor of this happy occasion, I present you this new symbol of togetherness and cooperation, this flag, which shall be the emblem of the new free Jones plantation." He held up the new flag, but most of those listening were still too amazed to respond. "And this shall be our motto," Mr. Smith announced. We work together as free men for our mutual benefit, pledging our allegiance to the Jones Plantation, which stands for prosperity, liberty, and justice for all. To celebrate, everyone has the rest of the day off. Enjoy your freedom, do as you please, and be back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, so that we may begin work on this great and noble new endeavor as equal free men. Finding that Mr. Smith was serious, the former slaves applauded and cheered.
Day 2.
We all want this plantation to do well, Mr. Smith said at the beginning of the next meeting, so we can all share in the benefits. We all know that it takes a lot of effort to make a cotton plantation work. Just because you're all free doesn't mean you can stop working. In fact, since you're now working for yourselves, I expect you to work even harder than ever before, but now with pride and joy, knowing that you're working for yourselves. Of course, there still have to be rules. If everyone just does whatever he wants, the plantation won't produce anything. This experiment will fail and we'll all starve. You should be thankful that Mr. Jones has agreed to stay on to lend his knowledge and skills to this endeavor, and I trust you will all do your own part to make this work. Several of you have been chosen to act as project supervisors to manage different aspects of the operation, to make sure everyone is doing his assigned job, to make sure that the rules are followed, and so on. The rest of you may head out to the fields to start your first day of work as free men.
Day 3.
The next morning, Mr. Smith had a grim expression on his face as the daily meeting began. I have an unpleasant duty to do today, he said. Yesterday, Charles was caught keeping some of the cotton he picked, presumably to sell for his own personal profit. That is against the rules. That is stealing. For that, Charles must be punished. 2 men tied Charles to the whipping post. I take no joy in this, Mr. Smith continued, but you must understand, if we do not maintain order, if we do not have rules that we all abide by, then the plantation will fail and we will all suffer. The whip cracked against Charles' back. But if we all pitch in for the common good, then we can all prosper. Being free doesn't mean you should be selfish and greedy. We must each do our assigned duties and obey the rules, and then we can all benefit, and each of you will receive your appropriate share of the profits. A young man named Samuel stepped forward. But if you and Mr. Jones decide the rules and whip us if we disobey, how is that any different from what we had before? How can you say that? Mr. Smith asked. I'm shocked. You were a slave before, and now you're free. Things still need to be managed and organized by those best qualified to do so. Do you know how to run a plantation, Samuel? Well, no, he answered. But if we're free, why do we get no say in what the rules are and how things work? I'm surprised at your ingratitude, Mr. Smith answered. None of you know how a plantation is run, so you're in no position to be making decisions about how things are done here. You don't seem to appreciate all the things that Mr. Jones provides for you, from protecting you from all the outside threats you know nothing about, those who would come here, capture and enslave you, if not for Mr. Jones' protection, to making sure that you all have food and housing, tools to work with, that you're cared for when sick and injured, and so on. There wouldn't be a plantation at all, no cotton to pick, no land to plant and harvest, if not for him. You should be grateful that he's made possible the level of comfort you now have. Your lives would be far worse if not for him. Nevertheless, as free and equal participants in this endeavor, from now on at each meeting, any worker may have 2 minutes to ask questions or voice suggestions or complaints. With that, the workers all seemed satisfied and headed out again to the fields to pick the cotton.
Day 4.
I have a big announcement, Mr. Smith said as the daily meeting began. Mr. Jones' cousin is here, and not just to visit and see how our project is coming along. It has been decided that from now on, you will be deciding who will manage the plantation. Of course, this job can't be done by just anyone, but every 3 months we will have a special meeting at which all the workers will vote on whether we think Mr. Jones should run the plantation or whether we think his cousin, Mr. Johnson, should run the plantation. That means that ultimately you are in charge because you will be deciding which man you want running things on your behalf. If you don't like the way things are being managed, you now have the power to change it. Amazed and pleased, the workers
Between
headed out
two
again
parties.
to the field
Oh no.
to pick the cotton.
Does that sound familiar?
Days passed, months passed, a year passed, and the plantation continued to operate as before. Sometimes Mr. Jones was in charge, sometimes Mr. Johnson was in charge, but the day-to-day
Does this all
routine
sound
stayed
familiar?
exactly the same. The workers worked hard, long hours every day, and still had little to show for it. Every day the meeting would begin with them all reciting the Jones Plantation motto, "We work together as free men for our mutual benefit, pledging our allegiance to the Jones plantation, which stands for prosperity, liberty, and justice for all. One day, Mr. Smith announced, Samuel is asked to say a few words this morning, and whatever the rest of us may think of his ideas and opinions, we are all free here, and that means we are all allowed to speak our minds. So, Samuel, you have 2 minutes. Begin. Samuel stepped forward, looking scared. I was excited when all this started, he began, glancing nervously at Mr. Smith and Mr. Jones. But don't you all see what's happened here? Nothing has changed. We're all still slaves. There were grumbles of disagreement from the crowd. They tell us what to do and whip us if we don't. They still make all the rules and punish us if we disobey. They let us make suggestions and complain about things, but they never really change anything. They let us choose between Mr. Jones and Mr. Johnson, but what's the difference? The situation stays the same. We do all of the work and they take as much as they want and decide how much they'll let us keep. They live in luxury, made rich by the cotton we pick. We do all the work and have to build our own huts, grow our own food, and take care of ourselves. They leave us just enough that we don't revolt or run away. This is not freedom. We're all still slaves. They've only changed the words they use, but nothing else has changed. They say we're all free and equal, but we're not. They command and we obey. That's not freedom. That's not equality. They say we're free to leave, but all that means is that we're free to be someone else's slave. Why should we work or obey the rules? We didn't agree to this. They made the system. They forced it on us. They control and rob us and call it freedom. They've deceived you into thinking that being able to choose which slave master you'll work for is the same as being free. It's not. Open your eyes. If you keep what you produce, they call it stealing. When they take what you produce, they call it sharing and fair distribution. Can't you see that this is all? Your time is up, Samuel, Mr. Smith announced calmly. At his gesture, 2 supervisors grabbed Samuel by the arms and led him to the whipping post. I'm sorry, Samuel, but you've broken the rules. There are rules against encouraging others not to work and encouraging others to break the rules. You're only hurting all of us with your discontentment and your complaining and your disobedience. The whip fell and Samuel let out a grunt. Without rules, without order, all would be lost. Without law, there would be chaos. We can't just behave as wild animals, each doing whatever he pleases. We must all follow the plan and all do our duty for the betterment of everyone. And those who do not must be punished. The whip fell again and blood flowed freely from Samuel's back. Samuel, it is you who are stealing from the others. When you don't do your assigned work, you are making more work for others. When you disobey the rules, it is you who are endangering the future of everyone else here. You are the thief. You are the criminal. You are the one trying to destroy the arrangement that keeps us all safe and prosperous. At every lash of the whip, the other workers cheered, more and louder, some yelling curses at Samuel. Being spoiled and selfish, you complain about everything, talking as if you're oppressed. But you are the one ruining things. You are the one keeping us from being all we could be. It is your greed and your rebelliousness that is hurting all of us. They all play by the rules, Mr. Smith said, gesturing at the others. What makes you think that you don't have to? You think you're above the law? There were loud yells of agreement as the whip fell again. We must maintain order, Mr. Smith proclaimed, to make this plantation great, to make it so that we can all be happy and prosperous. To have the society we want, there have to be rules. We all have to contribute our fair share to this great endeavor.
Hell
We cannot
yeah.
tolerate actions and attitudes that seek to
I just
undermine
noticed
the
you're here.
amazing things that together as free men we have achieved and will continue
Get
to
full
achieve.
table.
Mr. Jones was smiling as he gave Mr. Smith a pat
Oh,
on the
yeah.
back. The crowd was cheering so loudly that none of them had noticed that Samuel had died.
Damn.
What you have been taught about government and politics is no more accurate or reasonable than what Mr. Smith taught the slaves. If you're ready to look through the veil of rhetoric and propaganda to see the reality beneath, get a copy of The Most Dangerous Superstition. It will change the way you see the world.
I've played it a couple times while I've been driving. I think I'm gonna do it again soon. It's good, especially by Patrick Smith narrating. It does sound awesome. There's another one she sent me too.
Plantation movies, things that go back to, pre-slavery, pre-1865, right? Day in the life of of plantation owners, slaves, what it was about. We've seen that movie. We haven't seen this movie.
He ain't what you think he is. He's not who you think he is. I'm telling you, Mom, she is evil. He ain't what he pretends to be. So I'm angry.
I am Maurice Johnson. I am playing Mr. Smith, the sociopath Mr. Smith. This is the most diverse role that I have ever played, and one of the most dynamic roles and scripts I've seen ever. I saw the role, saw the script, saw the size. It was 2 scenes, and I was like, holy shit, this is like a very different character, than what I'm, used to playing. And I've been, I'm the good guy or the bad guy. This guy's like both. And sometimes, I'm very wary about, the types of roles that I take. And this one right here is dynamic, and people are going to remember me for this years from now. This movie, I had a dream the night before I came here, and I was telling Andrew, director, about it, and a couple of the other guys.
6 months ago.
I had a dream. I was in Atlanta in a restaurant, fine dining restaurant. This lady comes up to me, and she literally, like, just mugs me, and I'm like, okay, like, this is kind of weird. She leaves, comes back, and she literally spit in my face, and it just rolled down my face. And my lady's sitting there, and this is a dream now, and so I'm imagining her like get up and like, try to confront this lady about what happened, and I'm like, no, it's fine, it's fine. It's about
That's a good game.
that I play, and she hates me that much. So
ebbs and tides.
But you must understand that we must have law and order around here.
I love his charisma. I love his he's eloquent, he's polished, he's educated, he's kind of before his time.
Is he
so
fucking
he baffles both the overseers who are in power, and he also woos and resonates with the slaves, which he once was. And so he basically plays both sides. He's playing the sides of the slaves and also of the overseers. He's playing a game. So he definitely comes in. He's about his money. He's about his business. I look at him as a consultant to the overseers to show them how to better run their business. And like I said, he's inflicting the pain on his own people.
How do you approach a character like that?
It's definitely tough. What DiCaprio did with Django, but then what Jamie Foxx did in Django as well. And then also Samuel Jackson's character that you hated in Django. So maybe I combined all 3 of those characters into one. That's how I prepared. So we've seen a lot of slave movies, right? Plantation movies, things that go back to pre-slavery, pre-1865, right? Day in the life of plantation owners, slaves, what it was about. We've seen that movie. We haven't seen this movie.
So what's different about this movie?
I think Mr. Smith's character. Maybe this guy was like a myth. He walked on water. They're assuming he's a white man that actually comes in. And a black man at that time, of course, he didn't dress like he dressed. He didn't talk like he talked. And definitely a white man or overseer probably wouldn't have took his counsel at that time. And so this guy comes in, he, like I said, controls the room. He controls the house as soon as he walks in. I think people will think this movie is a plantation movie, but it's way bigger. When I do a project, it's about how it resonates with the audience.
When's this supposed to come out?
I just want people to walk away from it and feel a certain way. And I want it to open up the dialogue about a lot of things that we don't talk about, here, whether it's racial stuff, whether it's government, a lot of times that's what we get into fights about. We get into arguments and things about, government, about, politics, parties, money, how that impacts us. Right now we have inflation that's looming. I looked at my stocks before I came in here. I'm like, everything is bottomed out. It's like, that's a big thing. And also, where are we at? We're doing a slave movie, but I'm a black man sitting in the year of 2022, and I have to compare, like, hey, what's different from back then than now? And I can't really say, when I'm reading this script, it's not a lot. And of course, we as a people want to be at a different place, in our lives, and no, we're not being whipped, and we're not being, going from plantation to plantation and
I
not
think it's a
doing
lot.
the type of work that we were doing back then, but still, in a lot of aspects, it still is a form of slavery.
What's up, y'all? How y'all feeling today? Y'all feeling good? Welcome back to another episode of Cooking with KK. The K, cooking is spelled with a K, not a C.
All right, settle. Safety, safety. Hey.
JJ Green. I play the role of Samuel. My older brother, and his writing partner, his producing partner, are cool with Andrew, and they read the project and was like, "Oh, this would be perfect for JJ." And so they connected me and Andrew.
Dude,
It's
Larkin would
funny
be
because
awesome.
at first
man.
Andrew was like, "Yo, you're talented. I love your reel, but I don't know if you are the part. Like, this is the first time I've grown this much hair on my face. I didn't even know I could grow. Not that it looks good or anything, but I didn't even know I could grow it. I usually just had this and a little mustache or whatever. But he was like, I don't know if it's you, bro. And what about this role? And I was like, nah, it's me. It's me. And he was like, well, I send you sides for both and read for both. I never read for the other one. I only read for Samuel. He was like, it's perfect. It's perfect. That's it. I just resonated with the character so much. The story was amazing. The character, though, it would be more me if I had to, unfortunately, live through those times. That would probably have been me. It's been eerie just to be in those conditions in some ways. Though it has been cold as hell, but it has been a team effort, so that's been cool, man. The cast has been super dope. But the conditions on top of how this shit feels, bro. It doesn't feel good to be a black person in Natchez, Mississippi, or in Faraday, Louisiana, stepping on a plantation to reenact what your ancestors have gone through and have fought through to get you to where you are. I've journaled every day.
Why wouldn't
Every
it?
day. I have a journal that I brought with me every day after filming, every day, even after an
Triumph,
off day, I'll
you would
journal
think.
how I feel, how I felt during filming, how I felt when I was chilling, when I was sitting down, when I was talking to such
As
and
this is
such,
Hollywood.
when I was doing this, just
Bitch bullshit.
everything. I journal so much during the process that it has gotten me through. That right there has been kind of my release.
Folded some
And to
shit.
be honest, I never really drank while I worked. But after I rap for the day, I go get a drink. I got to. I gotta just like calm down a little bit and ease my mind for a second, because this shit is taxing, mentally taxing,
Sorry, Brandon.
for sure.
What's it been like working with
Well, you guys got all the cool
Reese
stuff. How do
had
you
an
get
amazing
those?
day one for
I don't.
me. He
I
was
haven't
like,
figured
hey,
it out. I guess.
we gonna get through this. I got you if you need me. He's looked out for me since I've been here. JT is such a kind soul, such an amazing human being, man. Such a professional. I don't know how many adjectives I can give him to describe how dope he is as a human being. He's amazing. JT is amazing. And Lee is soft spoken. He's not really out there, but being able to watch him work, I was able to watch him break the fourth wall, and it was so amazing to watch and to hear everything he said. And that right there, I don't know. I think I had a great understanding of the project, of the film, which is why I wanted to be a part of it. But watching him and listening to just that monologue in itself put everything in perspective for me. I was like, yo, this shit can be great.
It's free.
I'm JT Rockwell, and I play Mr. Johnson. He's a rancher, fur trader from Montana.
How'd you hear about the project?
Well, I think what happened was the producers came into town and they kept on looking for different things, and everybody knows that I'm a actor and horse trainer and all that for the movie industry. So they kept on hearing, "Hey, have you met JT? Have you met JT?" Then finally they went, we got to know this guy. So they got my number and they called me, and then I said, well, let's have dinner. And we went and had dinner. And the writer looks at me and says across the table, are you guys thinking what I'm thinking? And they're like, yeah, he'd be great to play Mr. Johnson, you know, because they want this bigger than life cowboy kind of like character. So, and then I went through my wardrobe showing them stuff that I have that I've picked up from movies, because I've been in the movie industry for 45 years. And I pulled out this big grizzly bear jacket that I got. They just loved it. So then that's why they made it this fur trader.
How's it been so far filming the movie?
I love it. The crew is amazing. I've worked with numerous crews. I've done over 500 films, but this crew seems like one big family, and they're all real professional.
pretty cool,
I'm
actually.
excited to be working with these guys. And then
Feed me.
a lot of the actors that we've brought in, I'm just blown away by their delivery and their acting ability. I'm just, you know, I just feel blessed to be on the screen with them. Of course, the gentleman that plays Mr. Jones and his accent, I mean, I'm just blown away with his delivery and his drive as far as an actor. So I'm really excited to work with these professionals.
What do you think of the film itself?
I think the film has really got a great message, and makes you think about, you know, what actually is going on and what happened in history as far as, you know, misleading people. And I think what we got on film is incredible. And, you know, it's a story that I would think that would need to be told. You know, I hope this story touches people the way I've been touched, you know, being a part of it.
What do you hope audiences come away with after watching this film?
That maybe they'll look at it and treat each other, you know, more kind. I hope people walk away with that in mind and stop and think about, wow, what did everybody contribute to where we are now?
Oh shit, you dropped something. Okay. Oh yeah, I played this. Yeah, this is ridiculous. Look at this is where I'm at.
Okay, excellent. So I see that there's something on the first page that you highlighted, two things on the second page that you highlighted, and the third page is mainly blank, so nothing's highlighted there.
That too.
All right, now the first thing that you highlighted is, and I'm going to read exactly what you highlighted. Examples of suspicious activity may include but are not limited to. Did I read that correctly? Correct. Okay. Where does it say there that you get to detain people? And I'm going to hand it back to you so you can show me. And this time highlight, please, where it says you get to detain people.
Okay.
It does not say it in that paragraph.
Excellent. Where does it say it? Use the highlighter.
Down under reporting and investigation.
Okay. So now we're moving to the second page. You highlighted two things. One thing over here says that the responsibilities of the respective department head include but are not limited to. Then the next thing is 172.4, reporting and investigation. You highlighted these words. Any member receiving information regarding suspicious activity should take any necessary, immediate, and appropriate action. And that's the end of the highlighting. And your testimony, obviously, is that this authorizes you to detain people who are acting in a way that you feel is suspicious, right?
Yes.
And just so that I understand this correctly, if right now we could go back in time and replay exactly what happened on the day that you arrested Ms. Bergquist, So now we're back to that moment where you don't know her and you don't know what she's doing. But you do get to go back and decide if you're going to arrest her. Are you going to arrest her or not?
I'm going to object again. As it calls for speculation. You can answer.
You're asking me if it happened tomorrow, what would I do?
Nope, that's not what I asked you.
Okay.
If you could go back in time to the day that you arrested her, would you still arrest her?
So you're asking me if I can go back in time?
Yeah.
I don't know how I could do that.
Okay. Did you understand my question?
I did, and you're asking me to suppose whether or not I can go back in time. I can't.
So you can't tell me if you would still arrest her?
I can't tell you what would happen on that day if I went back in time, no.
Okay. Is this an attempt to be funny?
Not a bit.
Are you trying to answer my questions?
I'm trying to answer your question.
You really can't figure this out because you can't wrap your head around time travel.
That's
what you're saying?
Object. Again, I mean, I'm going to object. It's getting to be harassing again. I mean, is this what the question is? Hypothetical time travel backwards?
Is that really how you interpreted the question? Also?
Is that what you're asking? If he could go back in time, would he do it differently? Is that not what you're asking?
Yeah, that is what I asked him.
Okay. Well,
I don't think that asks him to do time travel.
It's asking him to speculate.
Okay.
So I'm objecting
So object
to
to
that.
speculation.
And I'm
That's fine.
rejecting that as harassing as well.
Excellent. I'm harassing. Thank you. If you could go back in time and not arrest her, would you arrest her or not?
I can't say what I would do.
Okay. Do you feel that the arrest of her was proper or not?
The detainment was proper.
The detainment was proper. What information did you receive regarding suspicious activity?
I'm not sure what the question means.
Okay. The part that you highlighted here says any member receiving information regarding suspicious activity should take any necessary, immediate, and appropriate action. What I'm asking you is, what did Ms. Berquist do? Or what information did you receive regarding suspicious activity?
The fact that she was videotaping the building and possibly inside the doors is suspicious.
Okay. Is it against the law to do that?
Not necessarily.
Is it ever against the law to do that?
No.
Thank you. So if you detain somebody for doing something which is not against the law, isn't that an unlawful detainment?
Not if we're required to do a report and we can't justify what they were doing there.
Okay. So, are you familiar with the Cook County Sheriff's Office Strategic Operations Center informational bulletins? Do you know what those are?
Yes.
There's one that's titled Photographing Exterior of County Facilities. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to hand you what's been marked as Exhibit 2. And this is bait stamped CCSAO Berquist 000016 and 17. I'm going to find a spot that it doesn't obstruct any of the words, and I'm going to ask you to take this document. I'm also going to give you my highlighter again. Tell me if there's anything there that allows you to detain people for taking pictures. All right. You highlighted date of information June 20th, 18, and date of report June 2018. Did you understand my question?
I did.
Okay, so I'm going to hand it back to you again.
Okay.
And the question is there anything in here that allows you to detain people for taking pictures outside of the building?
Okay, the answer to it is this bulletin came out after the fact.
So what you're saying is that this modified the county's policy?
I did not have this bulletin in my hands in order to make a decision.
Did you hear my question?
I don't know if it modified their policy or not. All I know is I did not have the bulletin in my hands on March 28th to make a decision.
Does Exhibit 2, the informational bulletin, contradict in any way the suspicious activity reporting policy 172 that's marked as Exhibit 1?
Come on, Brandon.
Both back to you. Sure.
And guess what? All right, you're still in.
All right, you just highlighted something else on
I
Exhibit
don't
1.
want to see the first
This
person,
says
bro.
the policy was issued on June 1st, 2018, and shall become effective upon issuance. Okay, well, you must not be understanding my question. What I'm asking you is, Exhibit 1, suspicious activity reporting, your testimony is that this allows you to detain people taking pictures outside, right?
Correct.
Okay. Exhibit 2, does this allow you to take pictures, detain people of taking pictures? Does Exhibit 2, the informational bulletin, allow you to detain people for taking pictures outside of the building.
What I'm saying is that both of those bulletins came out after the fact. I did not have those at the time to make a decision.
Right, I didn't ask you that. Did you hear the question? What was the question?
You want to know if it had the information in there that you're looking for.
No. Okay, so let me explain the question. The question is very simple. Is there anything in Exhibit 2 that gives you the authority to detain people for taking pictures outside of the building? You have my highlighter. Please highlight the part that talks about that.
No.
Okay. So, if I understand your testimony correctly, Exhibit 1 gives you authority to detain people for taking pictures outside. Exhibit 2 does not give you authority to do that, right?
Correct.
Don't they contradict each other in that regard?
Okay, yes.
They do. Okay, so if they contradict each other, then which one should we look at? Which one do we listen to? Exhibit 1 or Exhibit 2?
Well, the bulletins are just bulletins. The other ones are policy.
Is it possible that you're just not understanding the suspicious activity reporting when you think that it tells you that you get to detain people for taking pictures?
Okay, so you're asking my interpretation of it?
Yeah.
Okay, my interpretation is yes, I can detain.
Okay. I'm asking you, rather than saying that we have two opposing documents here put out by the same county, isn't it possible that really they don't contradict each other? And the explanation here is simply that you don't understand Exhibit 1, the suspicious activity reporting policy.
Okay, and again, both of those came out after the fact. I did not have those to go back and utilize to make a decision.
What question did I just ask you?
Okay, your question, my answer to your question is I don't know.
Okay, what question? What question are you saying you don't know to?
You wanted to know.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Do you not know the question?
Repeat it.
Okay, fine. The question is very simple. Isn't it possible that Exhibit 1 and Exhibit 2 don't contradict each other, and that the explanation for why you think they do is that you don't understand Exhibit 1?
No.
It's not possible.
It's not possible.
Okay, because in your mind, Exhibit 1, Suspicious Activity Reporting Policy 172, allows you to detain people taking pictures outside if you believe that it's suspicious.
Correct.
Okay. Is there any objective component to that, or is it only subjective?
Subjective.
Completely subjective. So if I'm standing outside taking a picture and you feel that my shirt is suspicious, you can detain me for that, right?
I'm object again. Calls for speculation.
What kind of shirt are you wearing?
Regular blue button-down shirt.
Okay, I don't find anything suspicious about that.
What if you do? Then you're allowed to detain me, right?
I'm going to object again. Calls for speculation.
Do I get an answer?
You want to know if I object to your shirt?
No, that's not what I asked you. I asked you, I'm trying to use an example, but it doesn't have to be an example if you don't want it to be. If there's something, your testimony is that it's completely subjective. It's up to whichever officer is looking. If that officer subjectively believes that's suspicious, you get to detain that person. That's your testimony, right?
If we feel that it somehow it could interfere with the security of this building and the people in it, yes.
Did you hear my question?
That was my answer.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you another question. Is there any objective component to it, or is it strictly subjective?
Explain the difference.
Okay. Do you know the difference between objective and subjective?
I'd like to hear what you're asking me.
Do you not know the difference between objective and subjective?
Okay, can you ask the question?
I don't have to answer your questions today.
Okay.
I asked you a question. Do you know the difference?
I'm not understanding your question then.
Okay. Do you know the difference between objective and subjective?
Yes.
Okay. What is the difference in your own words?
One is concrete and one is can't think of another word for it.
Which one is concrete? Objective or subjective? Okay, so objective is concrete. All right. Subjective is how you personally feel about something, right? Right?
Perception.
Perception. Your own perception. Right?
Correct.
Not based on any objective evidence, but based on your own subjective opinions and beliefs of what's happening, right?
Okay.
Okay, so what I'm asking you is, and I just want to make sure I understand this, because you're a lieutenant, right?
Yes.
How many ranks are there above lieutenant in Cook County?
Ranks, actual merit ranks?
Yeah, how much higher do we get?
That's it. It's the last merit rank.
That's sweet,
You're the
Mazzy.
highest.
Yes.
Congratulations. So as a lieutenant, you're telling me that these policies
Oh, for sure.
allow a police officer to detain anybody who they subjectively believe is acting suspicious.
Well,
That could be interpreted
those
in
aren't both
many
policies.
ways.
Okay. Did you hear the question I just asked you?
Yes,
Can you please answer it?
I did.
How many
They're
times
not
did
both
you get
policies. Policy 172 is the policy we have to follow.
The informational bulletin you don't have to follow?
It's just informational.
Who writes the informational bulletins?
I have no idea.
Damn, boss. All
But you
in.
don't have to follow them.
They're just for information.
Did you hear my question?
We follow the policies.
Do you have to follow them? Do you have to
Policies?
follow the informational bulletins?
No, we're ordered to follow the policies.
You don't have to.
What does U//LES stand for? Do you know?
No.
What's she called? Okay.
Do people have the right to photograph the outside of the building? This building, this Cook County Courthouse?
Yes.
Okay. If I understand your testimony correctly, though, if they're doing that and any police officer subjectively believes that they're acting suspicious, that person could be detained. That's your testimony, right?
Yes.
So even if they're not actually doing anything suspicious, if there's something that they're doing which the officer subjectively believes is suspicious, he gets to detain that person, right?
Yes.
It's just he knows they know they're eliminating their qualified immunity.
Vaguely.
What does it say in your
They're
own vague
playing
terms?
stupid.
No illegal search and seizure.
Right. Unless there's
Probable cause.
or
That's about all I know.
okay, all right, good enough. You said that's about all I know. All right. Now there was somebody else who asked you the same question that I just asked you about your familiarity with the Fourth Amendment. Who's in this room right now? Do you know who that person was? My client, Ms. Berquist, asked you that, didn't she?
I don't recall.
She asked you, "Are you familiar with the Fourth Amendment?" You don't remember that?
No.
Okay. Did you watch any videos to prepare for today's deposition?
No.
Since the lawsuit was filed, have you watched any videos?
Yes.
Which videos have you seen?
The video that was posted online and Sergeant Larson's body cam.
Excellent. And on that video, you don't remember you asking Ms. Berquist, I'm sorry, you don't remember Ms. Berquist asking you if you're familiar with the Fourth Amendment?
I don't recall.
All right. If I tell you that your answer was, "Oh, great, why do we always get the crazies?" Would you dispute that?
No.
Does that sound like something you would say to somebody?
That's something I did say that day, yes.
So you remember saying that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember saying that in response to the question, "Are you familiar with the Fourth Amendment?"
No, I just remember saying it.
Why is it that you felt she was one of the crazies?
When people act in a way that is not in their best interest.
How is she acting that was not in her best interest?
Well, at any time, all she had to do was identify herself. We could have done our report and everything could have gone the own.
And if somebody were to threaten you that unless you comply with their demands, they're going to put you in handcuffs, would you automatically necessarily comply with their demands?
Yes. No object.
You would.
Calls for speculation.
He was able to answer. So you would. So even if there's somebody who is acting as a law enforcement officer, giving you an unlawful order, threatening you with detainment or arrest or 90 days jail, if you don't comply with their unlawful demands, you would still comply?
Yes.
Alrighty. Is that what you expected her to do, to comply?
Yes.
What lawful basis was there for you to demand her ID? Identification.
You're right. We were looking for identification, find out why she was there and what she was doing.
Did you hear the question I just asked you?
That was my answer.
What question did you just answer?
This is a deposition.
Justified
It's
asking
not
for
a
her ID.
testimony.
What
Well,
lawful
it is
basis
testimony, I
was
guess.
there for you to ask for her ID?
It's a deposition, though.
I don't know.
What lawful basis was there for you to demand her ID?
I don't know.
What lawful basis was there for you to put her in handcuffs in response to her not giving you her ID?
I don't know.
Was there one?
I don't know.
Doesn't there have to be a lawful basis for you to put somebody in handcuffs?
I don't know means qualified
If we're
immunity.
detaining them for investigation, then we were going to put them in handcuffs for officer security, yes.
For what lawful basis? What lawful basis was there for you to put her in handcuffs?
I don't know.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Would you agree with me that the only time you get to arrest somebody is if you have probable cause that they committed a crime?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. What crime did you have probable cause to believe that Ms. Burke was committed?
At the time, I believe she was violating the judicial order.
At the time?
And was acting suspiciously, and for that reason, I detained her for further investigation.
Okay. I'm not sure you understood my question. My question was, what crime did you have probable cause to believe she committed?
At that time, I believe she was violating judicial order. We believe she was acting suspiciously, and we detained her for further investigation.
Okay. Well, you arrested her, right?
Detained.
You didn't arrest her?
We detained her for investigation.
You didn't ever at any point arrest her?
We never processed any arrests, no.
I didn't ask you that. I asked you if you at any point arrested her. I didn't ask you about processing arrests.
No object. Calls for a legal conclusion.
Did you arrest her?
We detained her.
Did you hear my question?
I did.
Did you arrest her? It's a yes or no.
No.
What's the difference between arrest and detain?
I don't know.
I don't know.
So even though you don't know the difference between detain
Lieutenant.
and arrest, your testimony here today is that you detained her but did not arrest her?
Yes.
Is there any training required to become a lieutenant in Cook County? So yes or no?
Yes.
That's good. What training did you get before you had to become a lieutenant? Well, actually, let me strike that question and ask you this one. As a lieutenant, you're a supervisor to other people, right?
Yes.
Okay, because you work in the Cook County Sheriff's Office, right?
Yes.
And that's a paramilitary organization, is it not? Okay, so there's a rank, right?
Yes.
And there's a chain of command.
Yes.
And lieutenants are pretty high up on that chain of command, right?
Yes.
Okay, so how many people at any point would you say you have control over in that chain of command?
In this facility?
Anywhere in Cook County?
Well, that would vary by what facility I was in.
How many people answer to you in this entire county?
Just this facility.
Let's say just this facility, sure.
55.
Okay, so 55 people answer to you. What would you do if one of those people said to you, what's the difference between arrest and detain? What would your answer be?
We'd call legal.
Mr. Gorman, seated to your left?
No. Sheriff has their own legal.
Oh, okay. Their own legal who helps them understand things like the difference between arrest and detain?
Yes.
Gotcha. Was there a lawful basis to handcuff her?
Yes.
Okay, and what was that lawful basis?
Officer safety.
Gotcha. Okay, now in order to detain somebody, would you agree with me that you need reasonable suspicion that the person's committing a crime?
Yes.
Okay, great. What crime did you have
He
reasonable
knows.
suspicion to?
No, he knows, but he knows the answers that he's giving is going to get him out. He's pretending not to know. That's all that is.
I believe Ms. Berquist was committing when you detained her.
We believe she was violating the judicial order for the building.
The judicial order which said
7
you're not allowed to
GG.
take pictures in a building.
Yes.
Because you thought it said in and around the building.
Yes.
But in reality, taking pictures outside the building is not included in that judicial order, is it?
Found out that later.
Yeah, he's
Is
playing
it?
the game.
It's not.
No.
Good.
This is the police union game. Game. Same thing.
So, was your detainment of Ms. Berquist lawful or unlawful?
No object again. It calls for a legal conclusion.
I can't make a lawful conclusion.
You can't answer that question?
I cannot answer that question.
Okay. I just want to make very certain about this. I'll give you an opportunity to take a break and confer with your counsel before we proceed. I don't want to get another answer at trial. I want to make sure that your answer I get today is the same answer I hear at trial. Okay? So do you want to take a moment to confer with your attorney before you answer that?
No.
Okay. So your answer is you don't know.
Yes.
Was Ms. Berquist detained for taking pictures?
Yes. And for not identifying herself.
Right. Is there a law that requires people to identify themselves when requested by law enforcement?
I don't know.
Okay.
A lieutenant.
Did you delete her pictures?
No.
Who did?
Don't know.
You don't know who deleted her pictures?
No.
By the time you got in front of Judge Peter Felice, they were deleted, weren't they?
As far as I know, they were still on there.
You grabbed her camera away from her outside, did you not?
Yes.
From that point until you were in front of Judge Peter Felice, did she ever hold her camera again?
No.
Okay, so you had it the entire time.
Yes.
Didn't Judge Peter Felice talk to you about whether the pictures had been deleted?
He asked for the memory thing so he could delete them.
Did you hear what I asked you?
Yes.
What did he tell you about deleting the pictures?
I don't recall.
Okay. You just said that he asked you for the memory card because he wanted to delete the pictures. Is that your testimony?
Yes.
Okay. And if he were to testify at some point in time that he absolutely, categorically did not delete those pictures, then would you want to change your answer as to whether you or one of your people did?
I'm going to object. Calls for speculation.
No one had custody of the camera but me.
So you had it. You gave it to Judge Peter Felice.
Yes.
Judge Peter Felice ultimately gave it back to Ms. Berquist.
Yes.
Okay. So if it was deleted from the time she was outside until the time she got it back by Judge Peter Felice, it was either deleted by you or by the judge, right?
Yes.
Would it have been lawful for you to delete her pictures?
I don't know.
What do you think? Are you allowed to go over to people's pictures and delete them?
No.
Without a court order?
No.
All right. That would be a violation of which amendment? Do you know?
No.
Which amendment is it that prevents you from seizing people's property without a lawful basis?
Fourth Amendment.
Exactly. So, do you know or not
You actually
if
knew it.
you'd be violating the Fourth Amendment by deleting her pictures without a court order or a lawful basis?
No.
All right. You mentioned at some point in time something about a DHS memo. Remember that?
No.
You never said DHS memo to Ms. Berquist?
I don't recall.
Is there a DHS memo that you can think of that has any relation to this situation?
Not that I can recall.
Okay.
I love it. He just
so that we're crystal clear
he's
about
just-
this, her detainment
Voters
was
raking
at
him
least
over
in
the
part
coals.
because she was taking pictures, right?
This is probably the most uncomfortable day in this guy's
And
life.
It was to
All
stop
about
her
it.
from taking pictures, right?
It was to
Next
find
step
out
is to
why
stack
she
them.
was taking pictures.
Right, but it was also to stop her from taking those pictures, right?
Correct.
Okay. You also looked through her purse, did you not?
Yes.
In fact, when you emptied out her purse, how high off the desk, or the counter rather, did you lift it before you turned it upside down? Do you know?
I don't recall.
Well, let's say, do you like to treat people's property respectfully or disrespectfully?
Respectfully.
Okay, so for example, if it's your bag, for example, and somebody had to flip it over for some reason, you wouldn't want them to lift it up 3 feet off the counter and then flip it upside down and let everything crash down onto the counter, would you?
No.
So you wouldn't do that to Ms. Berquist, would you?
No.
Okay, so you did not lift up the purse 2 or 3 feet and flip it upside down, did you?
I don't recall.
Is it possible you did?
I remember dumping out the contents, yes.
Right, but I mean, you could dump over contents, and you can dump over contents, right? And depending on how high over the counter you're holding the purse, right?
Okay, I don't recall how high I was holding the purse.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Would it be respectful to people's property to hold the purse 2 feet off the counter and just dump it upside down onto the counter?
No.
Would that be respectful or disrespectful?
Disrespectful.
So you would not do that, right?
No.
Right. Because you don't like to disrespect people's property.
Correct.
GG.
Let me ask you this. Is it a crime to put somebody in handcuffs without a lawful basis to do so?
I don't understand the question.
Is it a crime for somebody to put somebody else in handcuffs without a legal basis to do so?
For somebody, are you referring to officers?
Anybody. Does it matter?
Yes.
Okay, what's the difference? Explain your answer. Tell me for an officer and tell me for a non-officer.
Okay. For an officer, if we're detaining somebody, we're going to cuff them for officer security. That's procedure and policy and training.
So even if it's an unlawful detainment, you're saying it's not a crime to do so because they're an officer.
Are you asking me for this situation?
Let me ask you this. If an officer detains somebody because the person's a woman, is that legal or illegal to do that?
I'm gonna again object. Calls for speculation.
I would hope he knows the answer to this.
Your answer is detaining them because they're a woman?
Yeah, that's the reason.
No.
Okay. How about because the person's a man?
No.
How about because the person's white?
No.
Very good. How about because the person's black?
No.
We agree. Okay, so let me ask you this. If you see a non-officer put somebody in handcuffs and he says out loud that he's putting the person in handcuffs because she's a woman, would you arrest that person for unlawful imprisonment? Or for some other crime? Assault, perhaps?
It's possible.
Okay. Tell me why you would not. You said it's possible. I'm assuming that means you might not. Tell me why you would not arrest that person.
Depend on the facts behind it.
Gotcha, okay. All right, now let's say that person is an officer. So the person is an officer and says, this person is taking pictures and I subjectively feel it's suspicious because the person taking pictures is a woman, therefore I am going to put her in handcuffs. Would you arrest that officer for putting her in handcuffs?
No.
Why not? Not even a maybe? Just a no?
No.
In any circumstance, would you arrest an officer for unlawfully putting handcuffs on somebody?
No.
Is it lawful to put handcuffs on somebody unlawfully?
Again, if you're doing it for officer safety, then no.
All right. Why'd you why'd you look through her purse?
We were looking for ID.
And why were you allowed to look for ID? What lawful basis was there to do so?
Well, we had detained her. We wanted to identify her and do our report.
Right, so just so we're very clear about this, what gave you a lawful basis to search her purse was the detainment, right?
Yes.
If the detainment was unlawful, and I'm not saying it was, I'm just saying theoretically, if a detainment's unlawful, the subsequent search is also unlawful, right?
Yes.
What do you do if somebody says they want to talk to a lawyer and you have them in handcuffs?
We allow them to call a lawyer.
Do you keep asking them questions?
It depends on the case.
Oh, I got you. Okay, tell me the case in which you would continue to ask questions of somebody in custody after they ask for a lawyer.
If we're doing an investigation, we're going to ask.
I got you. Okay. Do you know which amendment it is that allows people to demand a lawyer? Do you have any idea?
No.
Have you ever read anybody the Miranda rights?
No.
You've never read anybody their Miranda rights?
No.
Have you ever arrested anybody?
No.
Other than Ms. Berquist?
No.
She's the only person you've ever arrested?
Yes. And that was a detainment.
Right, but you also said there was an arrest earlier, remember? Do you not remember that?
Okay.
Do you remember or not?
No.
Okay. Well, was it an arrest or a detainment?
We detained her.
Right, and again, just so we're very clear about this, you're making that distinction, but you don't know the difference between the two.
Correct.
Then how do you know it was a detainment and not an arrest?
Because we weren't planning on doing any paperwork or any charging her with any crimes.
Oh, okay, so is that the definition of detainment as opposed to arrest?
We were
Oh,
detaining
yeah.
her for investigation, yes.
I would go for it every time with Pocket Kings. I'm sorry. I've done and got, that's what knocked me down to $5,000.
Gotcha, okay. And you don't know the Miranda rights?
Not offhand, no.
All right. When you arrest somebody, do you have to advise them that they have the right to remain silent?
Yes.
Do you have to advise them that they have the right to an attorney?
Yes.
Do you have to advise them that if they cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided to them?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what if somebody says, yes, I want to talk to an attorney? Do you get to keep asking them questions? Or do you have to call a lawyer for them before you want to ask any more questions?
I don't know.
You don't know? You don't know if you're allowed to keep asking questions of somebody in custody after they ask for a lawyer?
No.
How long have you been employed at Cook County Sheriff's?
27 years.
27 years. I imagine you only became a lieutenant recently?
No.
How long ago did you become a lieutenant?
22 years ago?
You've been a lieutenant for 22 years and you don't know the Miranda rights?
Yes.
Did Miss Berquist ever ask for a lawyer?
I believe she asked if she could call her lawyer.
Yes. And after she did that, did you continue to ask her questions?
I don't recall.
Would it be lawful for you to continue asking her questions after she asked to call her lawyer?
I don't know.
Did you tell Judge Felice that she was recording in the courthouse or outside the courthouse, or you weren't specific?
I don't recall. I don't believe we told her she was inside the courthouse.
Are you sure?
I don't know why we would have.
Well, I don't know either. That's why I'm asking you. Are you 50-50?
I don't recall telling Judge Felice that she was filming inside the building.
All right. When you wanted to advise the court that there was somebody who needed to be held in contempt, you did at some point advise the court that there was somebody who you had to bring in front of them, right?
Yes.
And how did you do that? Phone call, email, text message?
Phone call.
Okay, who did you call?
I called the presiding judge's office.
And who was the presiding judge that day?
He was not in.
Who was the presiding judge that day?
Jagelski.
Jagelski. And he was not in?
He was not in.
So who'd you call after that?
I didn't. I talked to his assistant and was informed to bring her in front of Judge Felice.
Did you talk to Judge Peter Felice's chambers or to Judge Peter Felice at all?
No.
Okay. So how did you advise Judge Peter Felice's chambers that you had somebody you had to bring in front of him?
I didn't.
Who did?
I do not know.
Did you tell somebody to?
No, I was told to bring her in front of Judge Felice.
Okay. What I asked you was, did you tell anybody to tell Judge Peter Felice's chambers that you were bringing somebody his way?
No.
Any idea how Judge Peter Felice knew that you were about to bring somebody up to him?
I'm assuming it went through the presiding judge's office.
You don't know?
I do not know.
I don't want you to assume anything.
I don't know.
Your lawyer probably doesn't either. So you don't know the answer?
No.
When you brought her in front of Judge Peter Felice, you walked into the courtroom and what'd you do? Where'd you take her? Where did you go?
We went up in front of the bench.
We or you?
Well, myself, Ms. Berquist, and Sergeant Larson, I believe.
Didn't Ms. Berquist not go up to the bench? First, you went up by yourself, right? Do you not remember?
I don't remember.
So what did Judge Peter Felice, what was the first thing said in court about Amanda's case?
I don't recall.
There's a report which is signed by Lieutenant Don Malazzo. Is that you?
Yes.
It's S018-0002736, right?
Yes.
Bait stamp is CCSAO Berquist 000021 for the record. What did Judge Felice admonish Ms. Berquist about?
As far as I can recall, about videotaping in and around the building, and if he ever caught her again, he would hold her in contempt.
When you see the word in, do you just automatically assume that the word and around is there too? Or is that special for this case?
That is what Judge Felice said.
Okay, I'm going to hand you what's marked as Exhibit 3. That's your report, is it not?
Yes.
Please read out loud your words of what Judge Peter Felice said, which I highlighted.
Okay. Regarding photography in the building and the security issues involved.
And you wrote this.
Yes.
And you wrote this much more recently than now. Now it's 10 months later, right?
I don't understand your question.
When did you write this? Did you write this yesterday or last week, or did you write this in March when this happened?
March 28th.
March 28th, the same day that it happened, right?
Yes.
Okay, so your memory of what happened in front of Judge Peter Felice was probably better in March 28th, 2018 than it is on January 15th, 2019, right?
Yes.
And what you wrote in your report was that Judge Peter Felice admonished her about recording in the building, right? Why would he admonish her about recording in the building and not around the building or outside the building? Any idea?
I don't recall.
Maybe because you told him that she was recording in the building. Is that possible?
No.
Why would you write this then?
Why would I write what he told her?
Why would he admonish her only for recording in the building?
I recall him admonishing her for in and around the building.
You recall that clearly now, sitting here today?
I recall the judge telling her that she could not videotape in and around the building.
Was this recorded?
It would be probably on the court transcripts.
I'll indicate for defense counsel, I've been trying to get that transcript or the recording. I don't know if it exists. Obviously, I'd like to hear it or see it. So your testimony sitting here today is that you recall specifically that Judge Felice admonished her about recording in and around the building.
Yes.
Okay. Even though your report says that he only admonished her about recording in the building.
Yes.
He's running out of coffee or whatever he's drinking. Shit.
You told Judge Felice about the suspiciousness of the pictures and on the video camera, right?
Yes.
Why did you tell him that?
Because of there was pictures of railroad yards, secure areas. There was pictures of buildings, secure entrances. There was pictures of police stations. So those were all suspicious.
Buildings, railroad yards, secure entrances, and police stations are suspicious.
Exactly.
When what?
In all the training that we received after 9/11, those were the things we were told to look out for.
Gotcha. And that creates reasonable suspicion of a crime?
Suspicious activity, yes.
Did you hear my question? You like to say the word suspicious activity. I'm focusing on words that are actually included in the law, in our Constitution.
Okay.
So let's talk about this term reasonable suspicion. Have you ever heard that term before?
Yes.
Do you know if that term has any relation to the Fourth Amendment?
Yes.
Does the term suspicious activity have any relation at all to the Fourth Amendment?
I don't know.
Okay, then let's talk about reasonable suspicion for a minute, okay? Did you have any reasonable suspicion that Ms. Bergquist was engaging in any sort of criminal offense?
No.
Can I ask you what was suspicious about Ms. Bergquist taking pictures outside of the courthouse? What about her was suspicious?
Well, we didn't know why she was there.
Yeah.
And we didn't know if it had any involvement with a current case that was going on, with a domestic situation that was going on, with security procedures, any of those. We didn't know what she was doing there.
All right, so I'm not asking you what you knew and didn't know. I'm asking you what was suspicious about it.
Because we didn't know what she was doing there.
So what was suspicious about it? Because you didn't know. Who cares what you know? What was suspicious?
The fact that she was trying to videotape the building, we didn't know what she was videotaping, and the fact that she refused to identify herself.
Okay, so if I understand what you're saying that unless you know why somebody's videotaping the court, it is automatically suspicious.
Yes.
Okay, so anybody recording the building, unless you know why, is acting suspiciously, right?
Yes.
And you could detain them, right?
Well, we could stop and ask them what they're doing.
And then if they refuse to provide ID, then you can detain them.
Yes.
Okay. And after this lawsuit was filed, have there been any internal discussions, other than with legal counsel, about that policy?
Just the policy they put out in June?
Exhibit 2.
Yes.
The informational bulletin. Oh, I'm sorry, no, you're talking about policy 172, the one that you believe allows you to detain people based on the subjective belief that they're acting suspiciously, right?
Correct.
Did you ever tell her that she was going to go to jail for 90 days?
I believe we informed her the judge could hold her in contempt for up to 90 days.
But you never told her, matter-of-factly, that she's going to go to jail for 90 days if she doesn't give you her ID?
No, I'm good.
I don't recall that, no.
Well, did you or did you not? Or do you not know?
I do not recall that.
Is that something that you would do?
That folder.
Say?
So
So is it fair to sit here and tell us that you did not tell her that?
I say I didn't recall.
I know, but what I'm asking you is, I asked you, is that something you would say? And you said no. Isn't that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. So if that's not something you would say, then is it fair to say that you didn't say it?
I don't recall.
So it's possible that you did tell her that she would go to jail for 90 days, matter-of-factly.
I don't recall.
Did you ever tell her that she has choices? And those choices are to either show you an ID or to go to the judge who will hold her in contempt. And then he can hold her for as long as he wants. Did you ever say that to her?
I don't recall.
Is that something you would say?
It's a possibility, yes.
Is that something that's true or is that something that's false?
Could the judge hold her in contempt for
As long as he wants.
An indeterminate amount of time, as far as I know?
Really? A judge can hold somebody for as long as he wants?
Under contempt?
Yeah.
As far as I know.
After you went into your office and Larson stayed by the counter with Ms. Berquist, right?
Yes.
And then after some time you came back out and you said to Larson that the judge is going to hold Ms. Berquist in contempt and put her in jail for 90 days. Do you remember saying that?
No, I don't recall that.
Is that something you would do or say?
No.
Okay. Then, right after you said that, you turned to Ms. Berquist and said, "Is that okay with you?" Do you remember that?
No.
Guess what her response was to you? Do you know?
I don't recall.
Her answer was she's going to remain silent. Do you remember that?
I don't recall.
When was the last time you watched Larson's body cam footage?
I don't recall.
Within the past month?
I don't think so.
Okay. In December of 2018?
Again, I don't recall.
Could it have been before it got cold?
I don't recall.
Yeah, GG.
You then told her after she told you she was going to remain silent, you said to her, "You realize you're going to Cook County Jail for 90 days. Do you remember saying that to her?
I don't recall.
Is that something you would say to her?
I don't recall.
Then you told her she has an option. Do you remember saying that?
No.
Do you remember what the option was?
I do not recall.
Do you have any idea what that option could have been?
I do not recall.
What option could you have given her that would have made sense? Do you know?
I do not know.
All right. You told her that all she needs to do is show you an ID so that you can do your report, and then you'd let her go on her way. Remember saying that to her?
At some point during this, yes.
Okay. So you did say that to her at some point?
At some point.
Okay. She was detained, and all she had to do was show you an ID and you would have let her go on her way, right?
Yes.
Would you have let her keep her camera and her footage?
Yes.
But wasn't it suspicious and had to be taken in front of a judge?
We would have had a documented record of it.
But she would have still had the pictures, right?
Yes.
You then told her that she was obstructing and she's in contempt. Do you remember saying that, matter of factly?
No.
No? You don't remember telling her right now you're just obstructing and you're in contempt?
I don't recall that.
Is that something you would say?
No.
Can you think of a reason why you would say that?
No.
You don't get to hold people in contempt, do you?
No.
And she wasn't obstructing anything, was she?
No.
Okay. In fact, she asked you, what am I obstructing? Do you remember that?
No.
And your answer was that you're obstructing us from doing our job. Do you remember that answer?
No.
Okay. Is there any truth to that type of answer?
Yes.
Okay. So she was obstructing you.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe 30 seconds ago, I asked you and you said she was not obstructing.
Okay.
Which one is it? Was she obstructing or not?
She was preventing us from doing our report, yes.
Was she obstructing or not?
Yes.
Okay. She told you repeatedly she does not consent to searches, right?
Yes.
Okay. The only basis you had, we already talked about this, but I just want to make sure the record's clear. The only basis you had to search her purse was the detainment, right?
Yes.
And if the detainment was not lawful, then the search was not lawful, right?
That's legally, yes.
Thank you. You, after you dumped out her purse on the counter, you looked through her wallet, right?
Yes.
And you found an ID.
Yes.
And what did the ID say? What state was she from? Do you remember?
Minnesota.
You're right. You said that on video that she's from Minnesota. Do you remember that?
No.
Okay. And so you knew who she was at that point, right?
Yes.
Why couldn't you let her go then?
Because at that point, the chief judge had already told me to bring her in front of Judge Felice.
Well, then why didn't you just look through her purse and find her ID before calling the chief judge?
If she would have cooperated, that's exactly what we would have done.
I don't understand. You told her repeatedly that she could simply give you her ID and she would be on her way, right?
Earlier in the incident, yes.
Okay, so what was the need to bring her to the judge?
Once I contacted the presiding judge's office, I was told to bring her in front of Judge
Why
Felice.
did you contact the presiding judge's office?
For guidance on how to handle the situation.
You knew exactly how to handle the situation. You're allowed to detain people and search them and look through their purses if they're acting suspicious, right? Wasn't that your testimony?
Yes.
So you knew exactly how to handle this. Search her, look through her purse, get her ID. Now you can do your report, let her be on her way. Why didn't you do that?
Because I had already contacted the presiding judge's office for advice, and that's what I was told.
Why did you contact the presiding judge? Why didn't you just look through her purse, get her ID, write it down, take a picture of it, photocopy it, and then let her be on her way?
Because as far as I know, she was violating a judicial order, which came from the presiding judge.
So you had to bring her to the judge because of what she was doing outside, right?
I was told to bring her in front of the judge, yes.
Did you hear what I said? You had to bring her in front of the judge because of what she was doing outside, right?
I was told to bring her in front of the judge because of what she was doing outside.
You were told that after you called the presiding judge.
Yes.
Do you see how there's something in between that? She's doing something outside, you take her to the presiding judge. In between that, you called the presiding judge, right?
Yes.
Okay. Why did you call the presiding judge?
I needed some type of more or less for advice on how to handle it.
Yeah, but before you called the presiding judge, all you needed was her ID, right?
Correct.
And then you were going to let her go, weren't you?
Correct.
So if all you needed was her ID and then you could let her go, why call the presiding judge? Why not just look through her purse, get her ID, and then let her be on her way?
Because I had already contacted the presiding judge.
Why did you call the presiding judge?
To get advice on how to handle the situation.
We're going in circles here, and I'm not understanding what your testimony is. You were willing to let her go if you only had her ID, right?
Yes.
Without bringing her in front of the judge, right?
Correct.
Even though she was videoing outside, right?
Correct.
Okay. Why did you call the presiding judge?
Again, I had already called the presiding judge for information on how to handle it, and I was informed to bring her in front of Judge Felice.
Were you lying to her when you told her that all she has to do is give you your ID and you'll let her be on her way? Was that a lie?
That was earlier in the situation, yes.
Was it really? Was it really? Was it really?
Yeah.
Are you sure that you didn't say that to her after contacting the presiding judge?
I don't recall.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. When Larson was with Ms. Berquist by the counter and you went into your office for, I don't know, 5-10 minutes, that's when you called the presiding judge, right?
Yes.
Then when you came back out, that's after you had already talked to the presiding judge, right? Or the judge's clerk, right?
Yes.
And that's when the judge's clerk or assistant told you to bring Ms. Berquist in front of Judge Peter Felice, right?
No, I don't think they did it right away. I think they called me back.
Got you. Okay. When you looked through her purse, was that before or after you were told to bring her to the judge?
Before.
And next more. I'm binging on these cashews. I gotta stop.
Oh, so after you searched her purse and you had her ID, you had not yet been told by the judge to bring her in front of the judge, right?
No, I had already contacted the presiding judge, and they didn't give me an answer till afterwards.
Okay, but right before you searched her purse, you told her that if she gives you her ID, you'll let her go. Do you remember that?
I don't recall when that happened.
Do you dispute that?
I don't dispute that I said that. I just don't recall when it happened in the time
How
frame.
would you explain that? Were you lying to her?
About?
If you were not yet told by the judge, if I understand your testimony correctly, until you were told to bring her in front of Judge Peter Felice, you were willing to let her go if she showed you ID, right?
Correct.
Okay. What I'm asking you is, when you looked through her purse and saw her ID, your testimony before was by then the judge had already told you to bring her in front of Judge Peter Felice, right?
I don't recall exact time frame on that.
Okay, well, it's very, very important for us to know this. Because what I'm trying to figure out is why you had to bring her in front of the judge.
Yeah,
and your testimony was that you were ordered to, right? Okay, so what I'm trying to figure out here is, this escalated, didn't it?
Correct.
We started with, show me your ID and I'll let you go.
Correct.
And it ended with, even if you show me your ID, I'm taking you to the judge, right?
At that point, it was out of my hands, yes.
It was out of your hands because you were already instructed to bring her to the judge, right?
Yes.
What I'm asking you is, after receiving that instruction to bring her to the judge, that option for her to just show you ID and walk away was no longer on the table, right?
Correct.
Okay. When you looked through her purse and saw her ID, was that option still on the table, that she could just show you ID and leave?
I don't recall.
Well, it had to have been after, right?
Again, I don't recall the time frame on it.
But if you saw her ID, why didn't you let her go? Was it out of your hands already?
I had already made the call to the presiding judge, yes.
Were you instructed? You said they called you back.
They did call me back.
Right. But before they called you back, you were ready to let her go, but just by showing you ID, right?
Yes.
Okay. So before they made that call back, all she had to do was show you ID and be on her way, right?
It was a short time frame. I don't recall.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you told her just show us ID and you'll be on your way, were you lying to her?
No.
Okay, so every time that you told her just show her your ID and you'll be on your way, you were being truthful, right?
Yes.
Okay. And obviously, every time you said that to her, it was before you were instructed to bring her to the judge, right?
I don't recall.
Well, would you have said that after being instructed to bring her to the judge? Would you have given her the option to just show you ID and be on her way after being instructed to bring her to the judge?
No.
Okay. So is it fair to say that your testimony today is that every time you offered that option to her was before you were instructed to bring her to the judge?
True.
Well, I mean, isn't that your story?
As far as I recall, yes.
Okay. So I'm just trying to make sure I understand this. You give her the option, show us your ID, and you can be on your merry way. Obviously, when you gave her that option, it was before you were instructed to bring her to the judge. Isn't that what we just established?
Yes.
Okay. So when you looked through her purse and saw her ID, your testimony before, and correct me if I'm wrong, was now it's too late because you already have to bring her to the judge because you were instructed to do so, right?
Yes.
Okay. So just so that we're crystal clear about this, you gave her the option, show us your ID, you'll be on your merry way. She said no. You get the call, bring her up, and at some point after that is when you saw her ID, right?
Correct.
Let's take a break.
Hold on. Hold on, record 12:46 p.m. We're going back on the record at 12:59 p.m.
The other officers who were involved in this, Larson, Barbaro, somebody else whose name escapes me, but is Dorociak, Dorociak. They're all your subordinates, right?
Yes.
They have to listen to you.
Yes.
If they would have at some point said, we shouldn't do this, I'm not going to listen to you, they probably would have been disappointed.
Yes.
Do you take responsibility for their involvement in this?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did anybody else touch the camera from the time you took it away from Ms. Berquist to the time the SD card was given to the judge?
No.
Only you?
Yes.
At any time that you offered Ms. Berquist the option of showing you ID and being on her way, that was before you were instructed to bring her to the judge, correct?
Correct.
And by the time you had already looked at her ID and saw who she was, by then it was too late and you had already been instructed to bring her to the judge, correct?
Correct.
Because if that's not the case, if you had not been instructed, you would have let her be on her merry way, right? After seeing her ID.
If the presiding judge's office had come back and said that they didn't want to be involved, yes.
That's not what I asked you. I asked you before they told you that you should bring them, that you should bring her up. Before that, if you would have seen her ID, you would have let her be on her merry way, right?
At some point in there before I contacted the presiding judge, yes.
There's two different things I'm focusing on. There's when you contacted Judge Degelsky's clerk, and there's when you got a call back telling you to bring her to Judge Felice, right? Or was it the same phone call?
I don't recall. I believe I called them. I called my supervisors. My supervisors instructed me to call the presiding judge's office. Presiding judge's office, I believe they told me Jagelsky was out and they would get back to me. So at that point, I couldn't do anything.
Which supervisors did you call?
I believe it was Chief Jackson.
Does he still work here?
She is retired.
What did you tell Chief Jackson Ms. Berquist was doing wrong?
I informed her that We had observed her doing the videos.
Did you say in and around the building or
I
outside of the
don't,
building?
I believe outside the building.
That's what you told her? Very important.
Yes.
And even though you told Chief Jackson that Ms. Berquist was observed recording outside of the building, she still instructed you to keep her in custody and bring her to the judge.
She instructed me to contact the presiding judge to see what they wanted to do about it.
And she knew that you had Ms. Berquist in custody.
Yes.
What's Chief Jackson's first name?
Kelly.
Full house.
When did she retire?
December.
What's John?
2018?
Yes.
Now, just one last thing and then we'll be done. I just want to get back to this suspicious activity. And the suspicious activity, if I understand it, was that she was recording outside the courthouse. Was there anything else?
No. And refused to give her name. Identify herself.
Oh.
But before you even approached her, would you have said that she was acting suspiciously?
GG.
Yes.
Okay, what was suspicious about it? And again, we're talking before you approached her and she refused to identify herself.
Well, when I was called, she was videotaping the front doors of the building.
That's suspicious.
Over.
And the deputy had asked her.
And
what
slid
she was
into
doing,
second
and she
place
said, I don't
easy.
have to tell you. So yes, that was suspicious.
That's to assert your rights as suspicious?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what about Deputy Barbaro? What could have been, do you know what was suspicious prior to him approaching her?
He observed her out there for some time videotaping the front of the building.
What was suspicious about that?
He called for a supervisor.
What was suspicious about that?
I don't know.
If she hadn't asserted her rights, well, let me ask it this way. If she would have complied with your initial demand outside of the courthouse to identify herself, what would you have done?
We would have done our report and let her go.
So you would have written down her ID, maybe taken a photo of it or something. Once you have her identification, you would have let her be on her way.
Yes.
Would you have allowed her to keep recording?
Yeah. To keep recording?
Yeah.
We would have asked her to move to another area away from the open doors.
She was by the open doors?
Yes.
She was blocking the doorway?
I didn't say she was blocking it. I said she was by the doors.
Why would you have asked her to move?
Because we don't know if she's videotaping people inside the building or the security post.
What's the difference?
We're gonna kill her after this.
Who cares what she's recording?
30K pay.
People, security posts. If you can see it from outside, why can't you record it?
I don't know.
You can, under the First Amendment, can't you?
Yes.
And that's what she was doing, right?
Correct.
All right, I don't have anything further for this witness.
Okay, so you said that under the First Amendment, you could videotape the outside of the building, correct?
Correct.
But there's a judicial order that prevents the taping of the inside of the building, correct?
Correct.
And where you observed Ms. Bergquist videotaping, she could see inside the building?
Correct.
Okay. So that's the functional equivalent of taping the inside of the building, correct?
Section 4.
Correct.
And and again, and when you're looking at her, when you're walking out when you first see her videotaping, you don't know exactly what she can see, correct?
Correct.
You just know that she's taping the entranceway to this building, correct?
Correct.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
And what
Anna did earlier.
what was the reason that you approached her at that time?
Deputy Barbaro had called for a supervisor. I was the only one available.
And you wanted to investigate why she was taking these photos.
Correct.
And she refused to tell you, correct?
Roll the cam.
And she refused to give any identification?
Correct.
Did that concern you?
We have to do reports, and so yes, it concerned me that there may be videotape of something that could come out later on or with a court case, and we don't have a report on it. Yes, that concerned me.
And there were potential security concerns that you had with her taping the entrance to this courthouse?
Objection 4.
Correct.
What were those concerns?
Well, we're responsible for the safety of all the people that are in this building. We have domestic violence cases, we have trials, we have jurors, we have witnesses. So there's a lot of people that come in and out of this building that, if videotaped, could be dangerous to them.
And when we were discussing this earlier, when plaintiff's counsel was asking you about this earlier, you had said that when she refused to answer your questions, she was obstructing. Is that correct?
Correct.
And what did you mean by that?
She was preventing us from investigating what was going on and doing a report on it.
Very little. Very little.
And you testified earlier that she was only detained at this point, right?
Correct.
And throughout this incident, to your understanding, she was only detained for the purposes of investigation.
Correct.
And had she simply given you her identification or identified herself, you would have released her?
Correct.
Nothing further from me.
I have a couple of very brief follow-up questions. The thing that you told her you thought she was violating was policy 172, suspicious activity reporting, or was it a judicial order?
Judicial order.
Okay, and the judicial order was something that was put in place by Honorable Timothy C. Evans, Chief Judge, right?
No, good to know. Good to know. Thanks, Jesse. I'll double check it in the morning.
Once we got a copy of it, yes.
Right, and I'm going to hand you that. It's been marked as Exhibit 4.
On the link tree, you mean? Or okay, on the description.
I'm also going to hand you my highlighter again. I'm going to ask you to highlight, please, the portion of this that you felt she was violating.
Okay. Again, we did not have this at the time. It took a while to get this.
Right, but this is the order that you arrested her, that you detained her based on, right?
We based it on what we thought this meant, yes.
Right, okay, so tell me what part of that you thought she was violating.
Again, I did not have this in front of me to look at it at the time.
If you leave it blank, that's fine. But if there's something there that you feel was the reason that you detained her, please highlight it.
Okay, this is...
It's in my link tree too, though.
I've never even actually seen this order.
Is that the order?
This is not the videotaping camera order. There's another one that they put out. I've never seen that one before.
Okay, so it's not Exhibit 4. Can I have one more, please?
It's just indoctrination is the coupon code at the end.
Now I'm going to hand you Exhibit 5.
You need to click on the link
This is
or
a 3-page document.
use
Is that the order?
indoctrination as the coupon code.
Correct. This is the order they sent us after the fact.
Okay, is this the order that you were relying on when you detained her?
For both Lions Not Sheep and Coffee Brand Coffee, it's just indoctrination spelled normally without those zeros.
No, I didn't have a copy of this order.
But you mentioned it in order, didn't you?
Because we knew that there was an order out there. I did not have a copy of it.
And you had no idea what that order said?
From past experience, it was that there was no recording in and around the building.
Okay, so that's the way you were trained?
Yes.
Way back from after 2001?
Correct.
After 9/11, you were trained by you said by Chief Jackson. No, by Chief...
Beavers.
By Robert Beavers.
Mm-hmm.
You were told by Robert Beavers...
Who's retired.
That what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to detain people for taking pictures outside of the courthouse.
Yes.
And you had never seen the actual order at the time that you placed Miss Berquist in detainment?
No.
All right, I don't have anything further.
I mean, I'd like to follow up and just clarify what you mean when you say detain. When you say that you were going to detain someone for videotaping, what do you mean by that?
Well, when we detain somebody for any type of investigation, we basically take them, handcuff them for officer safety until our investigation is concluded, whether or not charges will be filed.
Okay. I don't have any follow-up.
Okay, we're going off the record at 1:15 p.m. This includes today's testimony from Lieutenant Donald.
He's still on active duty.
The total media units was 1 and will be retained by Veritext.
Still on active duty.
Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yo, I got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day. I'll be writing things until I'm fucking buried in my grave. 6 feet deep under, but my body won't decay. Cause my messages are timeless, so they'll put them on display. Oh yeah, I rap with a certainty, I have a sense of urgency. A message for eternity, for everyone internally. I had some people burning me, but now they fucking learn to see I ain't the one to fuck with. Now they looking nervously, and I don't really care what you think of me respectfully. You can kick rocks if you think you're fucking better, see. I will outwork you, turn you to an enemy. Hurt you so bad that you're gonna need some therapy. I got the motherfucking recipe. I've been cooking up hits, I'ma leave a legacy. You'll be looking small when you're standing right next to me. I'm 5'10", bitch, but I'm 10 feet. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yeah, I'ma do it my way. Coming out with a statement. You really changed, man. All your music and arrangement. You don't know shit, shut your mouth, you can save it. I'm the same shit my way, so you can go kick rocks. I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say, yeah, I'ma do shit my way, so you can go kick rocks. I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make.